Welcome to another enlightening episode of the Necessary Entrepreneur Podcast, where we explore the journeys and insights of remarkable entrepreneurs who are making waves in their industries. Today, we are thrilled to have not one, but two extraordinary guests who have turned their passion for sustainable farming into a thriving business. Joining us from Carriage House Farm are Justin Dean and Catfish Washboardio. Located in the heart of the countryside, Carriage House Farm is renowned for its commitment to sustainable and organic farming practices. Justin and Catfish have been at the forefront of this movement, transforming the farm into a model of innovation and environmental stewardship. Justin Dean, with his extensive background in agriculture and business, has been instrumental in steering Carriage House Farm toward success. His vision for a sustainable future and dedication to high-quality produce has earned the farm a stellar reputation among chefs, restaurants, and consumers alike. Catfish Washboardio Williams is the Community Outreach Coordinator at Carriage House Farm. He is also the co-founder of the 15-year-running Whispering Beard Folk Festival, held September 13th and 14th of 2024 at Carriage House Farm. Stick around as we discuss the history of Carriage House Farm, opening restaurants, sourcing farm-to-table food, airing grievances, building a tribe, and what to expect at the Whispering Beard Folk Festival in 2024. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
To the Necessary Entrepreneur, talking business. This is going to be fun. Anytime, just met you guys today. We have some mutual friends.
Yes.
But anytime I have someone with just a cool, unique name, I'm like, this is going to be special. And Mark and Justin, just for the record, not really unique and cool.
You don't think?
No. However, the story that we're going to hear around Catfish, Washboardio, and then even your last name, Williams, it just kind of goes with it. So I'm even wondering if that's your last name.
That is my last name.
Okay.
Matthew Christopher Williams is my birth name, but I've been catfish since about second grade from growing up in Delhi. A lot of farm ponds. We'd fish every day after school, and that's the noise a catfish makes out of water.
This is going to be awesome.
And that's how I got it.
So we have a lot of things in front of us, but I don't think you just got it from that noise.
Well, and I would catch some lunker catfish. That was the other way, but no, that was it. And then later on, the Washboardio was just a stage name ad, so I could morph into something else to be on stage.
What you need to morph into?
Just someone that could be in front of people. It's tough to be in front of people sometimes.
Do you have to develop that? Because you don't have a problem sitting here talking and hanging out today. And
now it's easy. Yeah, it definitely evolves, and just nerve-wracking, being in front of a bunch of people, putting your heart out there. And
if you think about it, right?
If you think about it. But then once you realize if you know something or you're passionate about something, it's real easy to talk about.
So what are we passionate about today? What an opportunity.
What were we talking about? We were talking about fruit grafting earlier. We're passionate about that.
Cool shit.
Fun stuff.
Tell us the cool shit happening in your guys' world in 2024. This really could be, I don't know what, we'll hit this for a couple hours, maybe till noon. You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Because this is something we could go for hours, because you guys are cool dudes. You've had a lot going on. You're like, man, I was in the restaurant business for decades, for years. And this guy, he's got stories. There is no doubt. So what's cool in 2024? What's cool you guys are working on?
I mean, we're building something special. Our businesses, or my main businesses, are based in a place called Carriage House Farms, and it's in North Bend, Ohio. We're about
Carriage House Farm, singular. Don't let Richard hear that.
Sorry.
We'll find out who Richard is later.
Richard and his family own the farm. The farm is the second oldest farm in Hamilton County. It is the oldest farm that has been continual agriculture since 1855. And we currently sit on a 45-acre parcel that was the original 45 acres the farm was back in the day. And over time, it grew to a little over 300 acres. There's Richard's sister does boarding of horses, and they've got about 5 miles of trails that they've manicured for horses. And then that's about a half mile down the road from our space. Our space is kind of a reclamation project. Back in the 80s, the farm faced an eminent domain suit. So North Bend tried to take the property to put Taylor High School there. Richard's dad's a little smarter than the average bear and went kind of around the backside, sold the mineral rights to the property to a company called Powell Gravel. So there's a large gravel vein that runs along the Great Miami River, and the farm has a mile of frontage along the Great Miami River. So there's tons of gravel in that area, and it's the little tiny gravel that's used in concrete. So it is worth a lot of money. So they won the eminent domain. They turned it into a gravel pit. Once the gravel was excavated, they were left a big hole in the ground. So Richard's dad built a building to house a farm market originally. So Richard sold to a lot of restaurants, and that's how we met. I was purchasing for a lot of restaurants at the time, doing a lot of farm to table type stuff. Richard was growing some of the best produce in the city, so we hooked up, and that went on for quite a few years. And then it's kind of morphed into what is now Lost Bridge Beverage Company, which is a small micro distillery and music venue. So we sit on 45 acres. We've got Chloe's Eatery, which is there. It's a food trailer that showed up right before COVID just to basically park, and he's never left.
Stayed. Business is that good. Either the people were so nice or business is that good.
Well, we just do cool shit. You know, I mean, we built an outdoor kitchen with a wood-fired pizza oven, so now we do wood-fired pizzas on Fridays and Sundays, or Thursdays and Sundays. Last year, we hooked up with Mad Tree Brewery, and they've sponsored us through Music Fund Cincinnati, which is another really cool not-for-profit that we work with. And we've done the Summer Tree, or the Madhouse Summer Music Series. So every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we do live music for free.
This seems like a passion project.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, being in business for now 17, 18 years, I'm like, gosh, damn, passion projects are so expensive. When does it end? And I feel this, like, this feels awesome every day. It's like, is this going to be pro bono forever?
No.
Okay.
No. It's honestly never been pro bono. We work with cool people. And
cool people make money?
No, we work with cool people and do cool shit. And we align ourselves around a lot of not-for-profits that like doing cool shit. You know what I mean? Everybody loves music and everybody loves food.
I mean, it sounds cool as hell. I'm like, man, what does this thing, because I bet the folks that own the farm, it's morphed and it's cool to them.
Oh.
But nobody could have ever projected it was going to be this.
Yeah.
Richard's dad is blown away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'll sit at the top of the ridge line and look down during the Whispering Beard, and there'll be 2,000 people.
Who's the Whispering Beard?
That's my
The festival.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you
Yeah.
guys. So a folk festival.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds cool. Sounds really cool.
Sounds kumbaya-y.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, man, we're going to talk about the day. Here's what I envisioned. There's nothing unique or special about me. I'm just like a normal dude. Normal dudes really don't fit into anything cool. Like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have a tribe. So no matter where I show up, I'm like, oh, these people are different. Like, this is kind of cool. They're having fun. They know each other. And I went, I bet it should be kumbaya-ish. It should be like, they're cool. They're relaxed. They're nice people. They're not getting crazy. But maybe I'm wrong.
After year one, I have never been hugged by more grown men on a Sunday morning than the first year we hosted the Whispering Beard.
How'd that feel?
Amazing.
There you go.
I cried.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a name. We didn't want to call it a music festival, so we called it a folk festival. But we do all sorts of. We have every genre pretty much
Represented.
for the most part. Yeah, lots of Americana, rock, country, bluegrass, folk. But we've never really advertised too much. Just kind of word of mouth, and you don't want to invite someone that you're going to spend the weekend with that's going to be annoying. So
So I'm not getting invited. So the invite
say,
wasn't.
hey,
What happened here?
so
Come
yeah,
on.
just word of mouth.
We'll see what happens between now and then.
Yeah. But this will be our 16th year. doing it. So it started in the backyard of myself and Matt Wobnitz. He's the founder. Started in his backyard over on the west side on Wesselman Road. 2008, we sold 150 tickets, and that was the first year. Rented 2 porta potties, probably for the same price we rent 30 porta potties for now. And that's the thing they don't tell you either, how you just get shafted when you first start something out because you don't know anything. And then we went to Morningview, Kentucky for 2 years, to Thornhill Farm. Then we were in Friendship, Indiana at Old Mill Campground for 9 years. Then we went downtown to Smale Park for 1 year in 2019, and then COVID. And then I knew Richard through the food world too previously, and had met with him before we went to Friendship, and the gravel pit was just a hole in the ground. And he was like, I'm not ready. And then mutual friend, business owners, Deeper Roots Coffee, Richard was meeting with them, and he was like, I'm going to have Whispering Beard here. And then I happened to be we were doing a coffee collab with them, and with Whispering Beard Harmony Blend with Deeper Roots. And they were like, Richard said he's having Whispering Beard next year. I was like, really? So I called him up and so it's like, yeah, we should definitely bring it back here. And then I went down there. I was like, you just need to hire me to work on the farm. Just pay me whatever you pay someone to work on the farm, because we got a lot of work to do here to get this thing up and running. And so it's been all grassroots, which is what I love. I love the beginning of things. The first few years of an event are always the best because no one knows what to expect or what's going on. And we've just been building out little by little. And now it's kind of like this, almost like an outdoor rec kind of mecca is what we're trying to build, centered around music and food, which are, to me, I think the two things that kind of cut through all the bullshit of anything else out there.
All the bullshit of all the bullshit.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like last year we did a music fund dinner to raise money for the not-for-profit. And
a farm-to-table dinner.
Yeah. So we got 2 of our regular musicians, Sam and Eli, to play. And so they came and got set up. And so they were like, hey, Catfish, when do we start playing? He's like, after dinner.
Do we eat together?
So, I mean, Sam and Eli looked at us like, what do you mean? We play music during dinner. I mean, everybody hires us to play music, and we're like, well, we hired you to sit down and eat, and then once we're all done, then you guys can play music. And they were blown away. You know what I mean? It's like the musicians, they come, they make $200, $250, whatever that number is, and they play the whole time this amazing dinner is going on. And then when the dinner's over, they take a half-hour break and eat a plate of really cold, shitty food. And then they get back up and they start playing again. And we wanted them to be a part of the meal.
Sounds like you guys are going to do for musicians what we were talking about earlier, but Rogan's done for comedy. He talks about that comedians just hit the road and travel all the time. And it's not like they're intentionally abused, but the business of the comedy world, it just wasn't incentivizing them. It was always incentivizing the comedy owners, the owners of all the clubs, right? And so I don't know if Rogan is doing it the right way. It sounds like it, that he's putting more money back in the pocket of comedians. And like he developed a green room down at what's he call it, the Mothership. And after like 11 o'clock, only the comedians get to hang out in there and hang out together. And it's a creative space. So it's like, it seems like his idea from being a comedian, he tried to do some things that really feel great for them too. So maybe that's it. Maybe you're thinking about this a little bit differently.
Well, I mean, music and food, in my opinion, build community and build relationships. You know, I mean, I've been in the food business since I was 15 years old, and I've been in every genre of the food business through those years, even owning my own restaurant. So, you know, I mean, I've seen it pretty much all, and I've seen how people get abused in different ways. And, you know, I mean, I've always loved the musical aspect, but I've really never liked how it was carried out. And we've got a chance to kind of do something different. You know what I mean? And I mean, Catfish is the best thing that's ever happened to the farm.
Why is that?
Oh, thank you.
Why is that?
I think I just have I've worked in every part of the music business, so I kind of understand where people are coming from the musician standpoint. I've tour managed, I've managed, I've booked, I've owned my own venue, and so understand where like Lost Bridge and Carriage House are coming from, and all the little things that add up that you have no clue about when you get into something. And the music business is nasty. It's disgusting. It really is.
Why is that? So here's the thing. I can actually help us have a positive conversation around something being disgusting. So like for the people who really don't know,
it's disgusting because I mean, it's amazing, but you have all these brilliant, amazing artists that, especially, I mean, now it's just turned upside down. And like you were saying, like
who's the biggest name that you've had at the Beard that people would recognize now?
The Tillers are coming this year.
Probably Tyler Childers or
so Tyler's been there. Yeah,
we've had
how many
him three times.
3 times.
Okay.
The band I tour managed with, we just did a couple shows with him.
So
Jason Isbell.
Yep. I'm going to his concert in Indianapolis here in a couple weeks or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, see, we just went on a road trip to Detroit because Buffalo Wobbs and the Price Hill Hustle opened for Tyler Childers.
Okay.
And Tyler Childers is now to the point to where he will not leave his green room.
Yeah. In Eastern Kentucky or wherever he's at.
Wherever he's at.
Yeah.
And
He's just not leaving.
He cannot leave. You know what I mean? And I was fortunate enough to meet Tyler personally in a music venue that's owned by the Brown-Forman family outside of Louisville.
Yeah. So when he was coming up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, he had made it.
Okay.
He had made it.
Okay.
And Austin Musselman, who owns Ashbourne Farms, his family, they Brown-Forman family.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's a huge musician, and he does this music series, and they'll produce these gourmet 5-course, 8-course, 10-course meals around music. And Tyler Childers came and played in front of 250 people, and I was one of the chefs that helped cook for the venue.
Yeah.
And it was hysterical. He's down in the green room in the basement where we keep all of our culinary stuff. They got a nice little green room off to the side, and he's down there. His whole family's down there.
Yeah.
Grandma, grandpa, mom, you know what I mean, cousins, you know what I mean, all these people, and it was hysterical.
So why is the I want to get back to Childers. Why is the music business? Why is it just brutal and nasty? I want to get. We'll finish that up because here's why I think this is good. In today's world, it's just tough to really know the truth about anything because go on YouTube and I don't know what the truth is anymore. And so it's just nice to see someone who we have access to that sees all parts of it. And you seem like an honest, believable guy.
Yeah, when I'll consult with bands and stuff, and when I talk to them, I think it's nasty because what we see is like the 1%. What you see on TV and the American Idols and stuff are these people that want to make it to this, that want to make it, and that's what I ask people is like, what's making it? Is making it like creating a community all across the country that you know. You impact people's lives on a real personal basis, and you get to go travel the country and world and make a living, or is making it, I need to sell out arenas and get rich. And at that point, like I said before, the fun's in the beginning. Like what's exciting about all this stress and being huge. So like, I think it's hate to use this term, but that fallacy of the American dream of like, what is this?
What is it? Like, what is it?
What do we want to make it to?
Yeah.
Like, isn't just living, making it, and enjoying the day-to-day thing. Like, to me, that's what it is. And when you're an artist, especially now, like an artist should be able to do what they do, which is write and perform or paint or whatever they are. Well, now you have to be on, you know, you have to be a social media mogul, and you have to do all this other stuff and all these things instead of just creating.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't have to.
If you want to do the
Yes.
thing that you're talking about, make a lot of money, have millions of followers, you do. But here's what's awesome. But you don't have to.
But not necessarily either, because what we were saying earlier too was, why does this clip go viral?
Don't know.
And that same thing in music. Why does this musician make it versus the other? I know 1,000 songwriters that
Who are awesome.
Yeah.
That I don't even know their name.
Yes. And why is that? Is it their stage presence? Is it because they don't want to be sitting at home in their own personal mind and space and then have to go out in front of 1 million people and put what they're thinking about at that time? So it's all different. And that's what I think is important about live music and supporting live music. And it's gotten, since COVID was a tough time on artists and musicians, and the ones that could do the social stuff kind of took this huge step forward, and the ones that relied on that live performance, no one knew them anymore. So yeah, now we're getting back to the people getting out, having more access to live music and live venues, and the artists being able to do what they do. But just like anything, and I'm on both sides. So if you're an artist, and you go play a show for $1,000, well, the venue's getting a percentage of that. Your management's getting a percentage of that. Your booking agent's getting a percentage of that. Your tour manager's getting a percentage of that. Your merch person's getting a percentage of that. So what do you get? And you're the one out driving around, just like we were saying, Rug, and you're going town to town, city to city. And as exciting as that sounds, it's really not. You live out of hotel rooms if you're lucky. If you're one of the lucky ones to stay in a hotel versus couch surfing.
Or in a car.
Yeah, we're in a car. Yep.
So what other way could it be done? You talked about the 4 or 5 people involved helping the artist do these things. I'm like, well, if those people aren't being paid, then the artist has to do it themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that gets back to what is making it and what do you need to make it? Do you need $2 million a year, or do you need 25,000 a year? What is your lifestyle and what is making it? And I say 90% of the time I meet with someone that wants me to book or manage for them, I talk them out of it. They're like, no, you don't want that.
Couple optimists sitting here today. Wow,
you
we
can
go.
Do it yourself, up until a point.
Mm-hmm.
And then really it is up until a point, just like probably any industry. You're at a major disadvantage if you don't have a strong team around you, because that's what gets you from, the 150 person clubs to the 700 person clubs to the arenas.
And you got to have revenue to support the team.
Yes.
The conundrum of life.
Yes.
So what do you tell them to do? If they have to have a team, what do you tell them to do?
I think you just, a lot of it's luck of the draw, and just like anything, it's who you know. And also I tell them just to enjoy, and kind of how we started the festival. We just started it because we loved all these local bands, and we're like, we have amazing local talent here in Cincy. We need to celebrate this. And really we started it after, the last 2 tall stacks were pretty much the big inspiration for wanting to start focusing on our local and regional music.
It's coming back again.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He was just here a few months ago.
Rick
I
was.
saw that.
No, Bernstein was.
Bernstein.
Who's really they were the catalyst for the thing. There's a bunch of people, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how does I'm thinking about a festival. There's probably so much work that goes into one specific moment in a year for 2 or 3 days.
Oh, it's insane.
It has to be.
You start after
The moment
festival's over.
It's insane.
So what do you guys, are you turning this farm into kind of a destination for more than just the festival though? That's what I'm saying. How much activity is there? How often are
we're
music
building
every
community.
weekend.
Yeah.
And then we do all sorts of events with other nonprofits and organizations that are centered around music and food. Because that's really what draws people in, is music and food. But I mean, now there's a million music festivals.
Yeah.
Every single town has one, and every city's got 50.
Why do you think that is? Is it social media because it's so easy to create one and talk about it?
And just because it's what brings people together, and I think it's a draw. So if you're promoting, if you're promoting tater tots, there's a tater tot festival coming, and it's like,
I mean, you wouldn't go to that, Catfish?
Well, probably not just for tots, but if you had some musical acts and something around it.
But just think about the costume for that the sponsors and the mascots could dress up in.
Oh festival. Yeah. Well, we got a pickle festival.
Yep.
So we got some pickle costumes, but it's all around. It's you have live music, and it's just that creating of community, and like it's what cuts through the bullshit. It doesn't matter what side you're on of anything. It's music and food. We all listen to music, and we all eat food.
Yeah, I remember growing up. I was born in '79, and so I'm 45. And I remember growing up, Humble Means in Boone County, Kentucky, right in Hebron. It was a one stoplight town. It's not that anymore. And I remember growing up, and I don't know how I really remember it, or I think I remember it, but I think I remember being like a 3 or a 4-year-old kid and sitting on my mom's lap. I'd like to think it's a rocking chair and paint that whole picture, right? But and listening to Cat Stevens records and having the news maybe on, because we didn't have cable, and having the news on, and the news was just like Sam Donaldson, Peter Jennings, and Tom Brokaw. And life didn't mean all these things that we just fight over about anymore. It just didn't. I remember growing up, and it just wasn't about those things. And it's funny, you guys talk about that. You're like, it's music and it's food. And yeah, that's kind of when life used to be good, when we just got together over the things that we all do and it feels good.
I mean, it's simple.
Yeah, it is, man. We make life way too damn difficult now. Way complicated.
Way too. And that's why we have basically surrounded ourselves with good people. You know what I mean? Like, we just finished, this is our second year working with the Groundworks folks out of Price Hill. So they get grants and they employ inner city kids to do cool shit during the summertime. And a lot of it's based around invasive species removal, trail building, cleanup. They work with the Greater Parks, Cincinnati. So, I mean, we've had, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. So we had a group out every Wednesday, usually 15 to 25 youth, and then a few youth leaders, and they would come out and just work on different projects. And I was actually on vacation, but they came 2 weeks ago and tell them about the visit to the horse barn.
Oh, that was cool. We went down to visit the stables, and most of these kids have never seen a horse close up. And we're we scared them a little bit. Like, you can't be rambunctious like we were on the other side. These are huge animals. They can do some damage. So we kind of frightened them a little bit. So that some of them didn't want to go in. And within, they all finally made it in. And the one that didn't want to go in was probably hugging this horse for about 10 minutes and didn't want to leave. Completely changed his life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
just meeting an animal like that. I mean, they're gorgeous. I used to work at River Downs and Turfway growing up. They're just beautiful beings.
How'd you become this guy?
Well, no, probably my dad and mom. My dad was a union insulator and a jokester and West Side Catholic, so heavy drinker. And we just, I think that's where I got the sense of humor. But I feel like you said, having humble beginnings. And
why do you think that's so critical to end up being a guy like you? And because what I've seen,
you're never going to meet anybody that doesn't like catfish.
Yeah.
And I would say probably 40 to 50% of the people that actually know Catfish's real name. Which is funny because, you know what I mean? It's like people have known him as Catfish forever.
It's unnecessary. The real name's unnecessary.
It is.
Yeah, what's the name?
That's what I'm saying. You created one,
Right.
damn it. I mean, for making a catfish noise. So, yeah, so I think what I think, not to take away from people who grew up different, but when you grew up with humble beginnings, it just, what I've seen is it just causes you to have less judgment later in life.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I can express it.
Now, I mean, I did grow up pretty sheltered on the west side of Cincy, and with all people that looked like me. But I would say at a young age, like my family's very diverse. I have Chinese, I have African American.
It's crazy how diverse his family is. It's amazing.
But until I got out of the west side after high school and worked at Findlay Market, that was my eye opening. Like, okay. And I love all of that. I love,
But the humble beginnings, my argument is the humble beginnings allowed you, though, to be non-judgmental in those environments. Because I was raised the same way. I was raised going to church and all that stuff.
We all got, what do we have?
Yeah.
Well, and what is humble beginnings? I mean, money doesn't solve anything. You see that time and time again from people that have made it, that, you know, money doesn't help your mental health. Money doesn't help family sometimes in those.
Look at Anthony Bourdain.
Tight-knit groups. Robin Williams.
Just go down the list.
I have
money
a theory.
highlights things, guys. Money just highlights things.
Yeah, I have a theory too, though. Like when we grew up, we all shared. You know, my parents had 5 kids in a 3-bedroom house, so you shared a bedroom. Now all these kids get their own bedrooms, so you're not forced. When I had an issue or I would get in trouble, my brother would be in my room making fun of me and messing with me, and I was forced to like face that. Now I can just go in my room, escape. I don't have to, you don't have to face any of these things anymore, and learn how to communicate and deal with these things.
What is it about life, though, that we've then turned into our parents? We used to hear these stories. We used to hear about walking to school in the snow and all that 7 miles, right? We heard those stories, but now we're becoming that. What is this about life? We get into our 40s and 50s and 60s, and we're like, oh, this younger generation. What is it? Because they did it to us.
Right. But I think that's just how it's tough to, I mean, could you imagine growing up now versus how we grew up?
Oh God, I could. Yeah.
I'd be in so
There's
much
no
trouble.
way.
I'd be in so much trouble.
I'd be 500 pounds.
But then what's funny is, are the kids growing up now going to say that in 30 or 40 years?
Absolutely.
What is that?
Well, see, I don't. I mean, there is such a drastic difference between. So you're 45, I'm 52. So I mean, we're not that far off.
I mean, kinda.
And
I'm 43, but I feel like I identify more with your generation than the kids
it's
younger than me.
I mean, we would disappear for the day with no phone, nothing. And my mom and dad knew that we were fine. You know what I mean? But I mean, I grew up in Maysville, Kentucky for the most part. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can get in trouble in Maysville, Kentucky. But you know what I mean? It's like we would just disappear for hours and hours and hours. I mean, we'd be fishing, we'd be hunting, we'd be exploring, and I mean, it's now you can't get kids off, half of them off their electronic devices.
Whose fault's that, though?
The boomers.
Yep. I mean, if we're really, it is.
Yeah. Well,
It
and
is.
you want for your kids what you didn't have, and you want to give them a better life, and that's what society tells you a better life
That's
is.
a bad tunnel to go down.
Yep.
I think it's been a long time since I've talked about that one on a podcast, maybe 10 or 15 episodes ago, where I talked to somebody and say, hey, it's admirable for parents to want for your kid's life to be easier.
Yeah.
I think it's admirable. Like, I think it's like, I get it. But what made you?
Right.
The hard shit.
Yeah.
The adversity. The tough things.
Yep.
And then you're playing for the downside. So I know it comes out of love and concern, but it's like they're not going to become these resilient, persistent, driven, smiling about life no matter what comes your way people. Because what's happening is they're not going to start to deal with the hardship until they're 30 and 40, and then life's already real.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the difference.
It is.
I don't know what you do. You know, the whole thing about tough times create all that thing, right? And so I'm just wondering, did the boomers set up lives so that their kids are going to suffer more than we have in 2 or 3 generations? And then I'm hoping because of that, and they have to do hard things, maybe they'll then raise kids that are more resilient. Maybe it's a cycle.
I think too, if you look at specifically like country or we call it sad bastard music. It kind of the hot spots in the country follow these cities that have been hit hard. Like your parents were hit hard with strife, whether it be from the coal industry, whether it be from the steel industry leaving. And then all of a sudden, these kids that witnessed all that are writing these just unbelievable songs that people from all over can identify with. So, I mean, I think it's like that in art also. Like,
maybe that's why Tyler Childers. I mean, the guy's like, there's Eastern Kentucky coming up through his veins, man. Right? And then what about this whatever Anthony guy that wrote that song in Virginia?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Oliver Anthony.
Yeah, right. And so where that comes from, when that hit, that just obviously it spoke to people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be out in like Northern Cali in these, in San Fran, and these people are listening to a Tyler song like it was written like they wrote it. Like, so it crosses genres and everything because it's a feeling more so than a type of song.
But then you talked about success and what makes you successful, and in every essence of the word success, Tyler Childers is successful, but he can't come out of his green room. How fucking sad is that? Can't even walk down the street.
He can.
I was gonna say, but could he?
He can.
But could he?
In his town, they don't bother him.
No, but anywhere else in the world that you go, you know what I mean?
Also,
I think that's one of the things that's happened with this generation is that, I'm not the kind of person that would, walk up to Sylvester Stallone in the airport and ask him for his autograph and take a selfie with him. I never would have done that. And and now it's like my son wouldn't think twice about going up to any rapper, YouTube personality, musician that he sees anywhere and doing that.
But why wouldn't you? So you wouldn't do that either, but why wouldn't you?
It's just invading somebody's personal space.
I would do that sometimes if it was someone and I don't get starstruck with artists. The last person I got starstruck with I couldn't approach was Wes Cowens, the Antiques Roadshow guy and History Detectives guy. I saw him at a Reds game.
Catfish, you're brilliant.
And he caught me staring at him. I was with buddies. I'm like, that's Wes Cowens from Antiques Roadshow, dude. History Detectives. They're like, who is that? So yeah, I don't like. But artists, he did. I couldn't approach him. What am I going to say to him? I love the way you critique antiques. I don't know.
Yeah.
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 But for an artist, having been around with them, when someone comes up and tells them, how much they mean, that's huge, and sometimes that gets you to the next show. So it is important to tell people that. But I feel it's just an individual thing. If you're the type of person that is introverted and because being a performer is you're performing.
That's your outlet, right?
Yes. And when you're not performing, you're introverted. But like I used to have a coffee shop and folk school in Ludlow, Kentucky. And we had Cherry Springer did a podcast from there every week. And people it was based around music, and we would get some people up that would come in and ask him for Jerry beads, and he was completely accessible all the time, and he was the most famous person. Like everyone knows who Jerry Springer was.
Yeah, one of the most famous guys in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I mean he couldn't walk down the street without
everyone recognized him.
But he would take the time, and because he said that, like, why do I get to do this? So I think it's just different, but it's on an individual basis.
Mm-hmm. See, that's a question for those guys trapped in, not talking about Char, I don't know him, you guys know him, but like I can say this because I don't know him. That's what I want to say. That's on him. He's got to figure that out.
Yeah,
If
and I
he
don't
fe-
think he's trapped as much as if he's got to go perform a show.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to focus on that show.
Maybe so.
And like it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I've never been backstage where there's not like a scene with plus ones and groupies and all this stuff. Backstage at his show was a family and business. Like you all ate together. It was business. There was no drinking, no party.
You're not allowed to drink backstage.
No anything. It was because it is. I mean that dude's employing like 100 people. You got 100 lives that are at stake because of that's a lot. That's a heavy load to deal with.
That's a big burden.
You think about then you go like Taylor Swift. Like that girl alone is responsible for like thousands of people's lives like every day.
I'm going to get better at not sharing my opinion. About
Rely on her. But like that's a whole other load to bear. And if you got to go out and then perform on that,
but I would make an argument, and I don't have knowledge about this. I'd make an argument it's actually easier to be her because she's got so much revenue that the entire team is running stuff for her, and she should be able to have a business meeting, have very capable and talented people running the different parts, and she just gets to go up and write some music and play music. Versus a Tyler who's more plugged into every piece of it. Am I wrong?
I mean, I guess it just depends on what type of business owner you are. Like, if you own a construction company and you have good people working for you, but I mean, it's still your company. You still want to have say in it. You're still the boss. If you don't like what someone's doing, you have to be able to correct that. It's just the type of business. When I had my business, I was always there. And I had a really hard time because it was my thing. But then I watched friends and operate their businesses, and they're like, "All right, you're in control. I'm doing this stuff," and I admire that.
So the laid back, cool Catfish, it seems like he's a perfectionist and has to be in control too.
A lot, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, we have.
But he's good at what he does.
I'm not saying he's not.
But he's really good at what he does.
That makes people really good usually.
Yeah.
We like to have what we call the airing of grievances a couple times a year just to get everything out there.
Jesus. How much pot, how much music, how much alcohol, and how much wood for the fire is necessary for those moments? A lot of all the things.
A lot. Usually a lot.
Yes.
Just a lot.
Sometimes excess.
Yeah.
Does this go on like a festival? Is that like your own festival for your people twice a year?
What the airing of grievances? Well, usually with our fest, we have a couple. Like Whispering Beard, there's 5 of us that throw it. I do one called Cabin Fever Music and Arts Fest, where it's mostly just me, maybe a couple other peeps. So it just depends. But you just get. It's just over the years you learn what you're good at and what you're not good at, and what to bring people in on. I feel.
What are you not good at?
What am I not good at? I'm not good at a lot of things. I'd say organization, social media. Those are my 2 biggest challenges. But organization, because I'm just more of an idea, and I'll get everything out and can do the.
So what's the beard? What's the beard great at? That's the question. Then we'll jump in here. I just did that because you're wearing the hat that says.
I feel like the beard's great at finding the talent before they hit it big. So we've had tons of people over the years. Tyler Childers, Jason Isbell, Hooray for the Riff Raff, Trampled by Turtles. Who else? I'm forgetting a bunch of them. Arlo McKinley, local guy.
I love his music.
The first year it was at the farm, Tyler's wife played Sonora May. So, it's and it's really cool. Just the first year that we hosted the beard, it was our first year, but it was their 13th year, I guess it would have been. They had their shit together. And there are a bunch of people like Catfish. And it's like, how do people like Catfish have their shit?
What the hell does that mean, Justin? We're
When-
insulting the guy.
When
He's
we
sitting right
tell
by us. They're
people,
like,
I take that as a compliment. When we tell people, like, hey, you should come to my festival, and then they show up and they're like, this is not what we were expecting. We were expecting something a little more podunk. They're like, you seriously do this? And it's like it's like, yes, but did it call for the seriously? You know?
not
No,
necessarily.
not necessary.
I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
Catfish is not really employable.
I'm not
But
employable.
He is the best employee I've ever had.
I knew I was going to talk to a couple crazy people today.
I
Y'all
mean-
just said in the same sentence, he's not employable but the best employee.
Yes.
We've all lost our minds.
Yes, because you just have
Yes.
to figure out what people are good at. You know what I mean? I've opened a lot of restaurants. You know, there's a French guy used to be in town called Jean Robert. God rest his soul.
Impacted a ton of people.
Yes. And I was a part of every single restaurant he opened 6 months into Pagal's opening up until he divorced Marilyn Scripps and went out on his own. So, I mean, I helped with like 14 different projects. You know, I mean, I'd go in and oversee construction. I mean, so when you build restaurants like that and you build teams, and a restaurant's a team, that's all it is. It's just one big team. And because no one part can do the whole job. You know what I mean? It takes multiple people, you know what I mean, from the hostess down to the dishwasher, down to the delivery guy. I mean, Catfish used to deliver to the restaurants that I had through Queensgate Food Service. I mean, years and years and years ago, you know what I mean? But through the building of these restaurants and bars and catering operations and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? You meet these very unique people that are extremely good at what they do. And that's what you have them do. You know what I mean? Most people are asked to do too many things that they aren't good at, including the ones that they are good at, as a quote unquote job.
All right, let's go deep on this one. Do you think that's what they're good at? Or just that human, whatever they would have chosen to do, that human would have decided to be good at it? Is it more about the job they're doing, or is it about the human that decided just to do well at? Because when you drove a truck and dropped stuff off, you wouldn't just say he's a great truck driver. But you met him, and that just inspired you. Like, he used to deliver food. I bet he did a great job delivering produce.
He did.
It was the
But-
human aspect, I
but-
feel.
But Catfish is a good person. And everybody likes Catfish because Catfish has a good personality. He's easy to get along with. He's honest. He's
Yep.
not going to bullshit you. You mean all that different stuff. But when you bring him into
An organization.
what we've brought him into, Carriage House Farms and Lost Bridge Beverage, he has been allowed to be his creative self. You know what I mean? Like a few weeks ago, he shows up at the farm and he gets out of his car. Classical music is blaring as he pulls up into the parking lot.
I love classical.
And
I wrote my senior paper on it.
and he gets out of the car and he walks up. He goes, "Birding man." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Birding man." He's like, kind of like Burning Man, but
For birds. We got into birds hardcore. I think a lot of people have.
But there's this amazing app that you can get on your phone called Merlin ID. And you download the app and you can press this little button for sound and it listens to what's in the background. And if here's a bird, a picture of the bird will pop up in the name. So we are all bird nerds now. I mean, it's hysterical. You know what I mean? A bunch of grown men are walking around with their phones out in the fields and everything. But I mean, it's amazing where the farm is located. We are right around the corner from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, we got two amazing groups. ARI, which is the Archaeological Research Institute, which is around a lot of Native American. They do a lot of stuff around the Shawnee. But then we are also right next to the Oxbow. The Oxbow is a huge nature preserve, thousands of acres around Lawrenceburg, Indiana. It is one of the largest migratory stops for birds in the continental United States. So arguably more birds can be seen in the Oxbow in a 365-day period of the year than anywhere else in the United States. So we'll get, like 2 weeks in the springtime and then 2 weeks in the fall. I mean, we may get 50 birds coming through here that we have never seen before or would not
what's
see.
the most elusive bird you guys like? You guys aren't gonna believe it. I just heard the
one the birders freak out about in the spring is a cerulean
The
warbler.
cerulean warbler.
But there's a ton. I mean, there's a ton of them. 272 species of birds have been documented there.
And it's amazing. Some of these birds will live part of the year in British Columbia and then part of the year in St. John's, Virgin Islands, or Panama, or, Ecuador.
And we get to spend a couple days with them.
And it's so cool. And then
We have a ton of bald eagles.
osprey now.
Osprey, bald eagles,
Yeah, there's an osprey.
hawks.
We think their nest is somewhere between our farm and the Oxbow. So we're on the Great Miami, and we're probably, 2.5, 3 miles from the confluence of the Ohio?
5.
5.
Yep.
And so the Oxbow is between us and there. And it's amazing because these osprey, they're huge, majestic, beautiful birds, but it's so cool. They're the only bird that will actually carry their prey horizontal with their body when they're flying. So no matter how they catch it, they will turn it like head or tail first.
Head first. Always head first.
aerodynamic,
Yep.
huh?
Yeah.
So they're brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is why. So Birdman now he's dropping the catfish shit.
Birding
Man.
No. So Birding Man is October the 5th, I believe it is, on a Saturday.
But it's music and food and
and
birds.
birding. So
We're not eating birds.
no.
If
So
there's an
maybe
osprey
turkey.
that shows up on the end of some, yeah, right.
We
So-
have a here's a question for you. What is a group of vultures called?
I actually hold on. It's a weird name. Go ahead and give it to me. So it's a.
A wake.
I knew that.
A wake of
Damn.
vultures. But we have a wake of vultures that lives at the farm, and they're awesome. They're just cool. But like he was saying, just fun things that we can center around music and food that bring everything.
So it's going
What
to
do
be
you-
an all-day activity around birding. So we're going to
In
have
October.
people coming in. They're going to lead bird walks. We're going to have some professional photographers that can teach people how to take pictures of birds, if that's your interest, what bird houses different birds live in, how you can make habitat for those birds. And then we're going to end the evening at dark by burning the effigy of a birding man. So we're going to
You
build
guys
a
are awesome.
big guy with binoculars out of wood. And
How big's it going to be? Because I think you're central to constructing and building this thing.
Yeah, I just come up with the ideas. I don't have to build it necessarily. I don't think it should be that big. Richard's the pyro of the farm,
so we'll leave that up to him. But then we're doing another event this fall as well with ARI, Archaeological Research Institute, and we're calling it the STEM, and it's basically science, technology, but pumpkin STEM. So these
pumpkins.
these crazy guys are building a trebuchet at our farm.
the big old.
Yeah, like a catapult.
It's going to throw them.
Yes. And it's really cool. This year, they're just going to kind of have it as theirs, and then people can come and you can pull the string and you can chuck a pumpkin and do stuff like that. And they're going to have some other, I guess,
Slingshots,
atlatls, cool stuff like that. And then we'll have music and food and other stuff around that. But then hopefully this inspires other people around the idea, and then started getting high school and college STEM programs to build their own trebuchet and make it a competition in year 2 or year 3.
They have a huge one somewhere in the world. I've seen those. I think it's in like Europe or something. Is it?
Well, there's
not?
one here that
in Wisconsin or it's somewhere.
There's one on the east side they've been doing
Yeah.
for a while.
Oh, here in Cincinnati.
Taylor's
Yeah.
built
Oh,
one
yeah.
too.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a few people that have done it. But it's just, that's the kind of creative stuff that Catfish comes up with. You know what I mean? And that's what
Just
Catfish is
weird
extremely
stuff.
good at. But it's stuff that it's really cool. It brings people together. It highlights cool shit, music, food, community. So I mean,
What do you think the farm can be? What do you think it really can be?
I think it'd be a mecca for introducing people to outdoors. The more we grow on just development. Nothing against development here.
We can have a good
Uh,
conversation around it. Look at he's like,
But these spaces are becoming you really got to really go outside the city for these things. And we're inside the 275 loop. You can paddle the Whitewater, the Great Miami, or the Ohio. We have Oxbow, Shawnee, Miami Whitewater. Like, I'm from Delhi, and I lived in Kentucky for the past 22 years, but I've been all over the country visiting all these parks and all these cool spots, and didn't realize we have this in our own backyard.
Have you heard of
That's
Noma, the
special
restaurant
thing.
Noma?
I'm not. Let's say I haven't.
One of the top restaurants in the world. You know what I mean? Michelin 3-star, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. I mean,
What
some of
city?
the most talented people. It's in Scandinavia.
Okay.
And they have a test kitchen. And it's a place for their guys to go and be creative. You know what I mean? There are no rules. Okay. It's a place to go do cool shit. And that's what I see Carriage House Farms becoming. You know what I mean? Our long-term goal is to raise money under a not-for-profit to build a large addition onto the current building that we have with the Edible Schoolhouse, which is part of Edible Ohio Valley. Familiar with the magazine? They've got a not-for-profit arm called the Edible Schoolhouse. And we would like to build a space for people to come and do cool shit. Whether it's taping a podcast, whether it's doing music, whether it's recording music, editing music, whether it's
learning how to hunt turkey and process, learning how to hunt deer and process,
learning how to make pickles.
Do you guys think? Do you think that's too broad? Because you just brought up Noma. It's the place for culinary people to go to have no rules. We brought up Rogan. He calls it the mothership now. He's tried to design it so it's a place for comedians to be comedians. I'm just wondering.
No, it's
if you
not.
don't think it's too broad?
No, because all of that stuff brings food, music, and the outdoors. It's three things.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that can be involved in those three things, but they're three things. You know what I mean? And who doesn't, you know what I mean, when a musician comes into town, you know what I mean, if we have a camping spot or, you know what I mean, a little Airbnb type place that we set up on the farm, you know what I mean, maybe we get an old Airstream camper and rehab it, and it could be an artist retreat. And that artist can be a musician, you know what I mean, he can be a painter, he can be whoever, you know what I mean? But, you know what I mean, it's, if you build a community of like-minded people doing really cool shit, it all kind of works together. You know what I mean? It's
the 2024 version of a country club.
Yeah, but there is no membership fee.
Yeah.
I get it.
No membership
But
fee.
I'm sitting here saying it's people coming around. It's finding your people. It's being part of a tribe, for a better sense of the word, right?
Mhm. And we have one rule. Be nice.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I thought it was have fun.
Well, be nice and have fun.
All right. 2 rules.
Because there's some mean people that have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. And I mean, honestly, and that's the greatest thing about having the space that we've built. You know what I mean? It's like, I own it. My business partner, Richard, owns it. But then there's Catfish, and we have a small team, Scott Ponder and Daniel and Tom. Tom is on his way to Sturgis right now.
Is he riding the bike there?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And Tom shows up out of nowhere, what, 3 years ago?
Pretty much when I started.
Yeah, probably.
Just because he stopped there and he liked the vibe and was like, I want to
Well, his sister
help
and
out.
husband were regulars, and her brother Tom is just this kind of interesting character that is like kind of out of the norm. You know what I mean? He lives out of his van. You know what I mean? It's like the guy that living in the van down by the river, and it's by choice. You know what I mean? Tom,
Before it got cool.
yeah, Tom can get in anything and drive it. I mean, anything. 18-wheeler, 26-wheeler, 32-wheeler, I don't care what you call it. You know what I mean? Any type of farm equipment, any heavy machinery, Tom can do any of it.
So I'm going to push back more, and I want you guys to. This is where ideas and good things go sometimes. But I'm sitting here saying, okay, he shows up, but guys like him sometimes, they're wanderers. There may be a day that he doesn't come back.
Very well may.
Okay.
Oh, he's done that several times already.
So
Just go messing for a couple weeks.
But here's what's tough about that is that it's tough to build organization like that.
We don't depend on Tom.
Okay.
We don't depend on Tom. We know what Tom's capable of,
Yeah.
and we know what Tom wants to do, and that's what Tom does.
Have you guys? I haven't been. Have you guys been to Burning Man since we went? I
No.
haven't. Do you think it's probably gotten out of control away from what maybe it was intended to be,
Well,
or,
of course
or
it
this
has.
is okay?
Of course it is.
From doing events, I've seen the first one they made, which is awesome. It's like,
It was somewhere else too. It wasn't it?
yeah, I'm not sure
It was in
exactly the
California or something, I
location,
think,
but
This is somebody's backyard. In
but
Price
the
Hill.
fun, it's just this rickety little thing. But what stemmed from it, I feel like that's why I like the first couple years of an event, because I don't think you can ever really foresee where the event's gonna go 20 years down the line, especially if you let it go. And if you want to, I mean, that thing's crazy.
I
now.
got asked to go out 2 years ago to be the chef for the Las Vegas Circus. So they've been going for 15, 20 years, and they set up a high-top circus tent, and they perform like Cirque du Soleil type shit for free every single night. And they wanted me to come out, cook for the performers and for the 100 or 150 people that the tent held every single night. It was just going to be one big, huge meal. And then they started telling me about how hot it was, how sandy it was. You know
How
what I mean?
unsanitary it
Oh.
was.
You could not have paid me enough money to get anywhere near something like that.
But so many people still do.
oh, it's
so
crazy.
many people pay money to go
Yeah.
see it, to go.
And
to
I mean,
that.
it's nuts. I mean, when you look at that, I mean, there's satellite views, and I mean, they're literally street grids set up.
Looks like it's in the middle of the desert. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's salt flats, if it's flats, if it's desert, if it's dry dirt. I don't know what it is, but it's just a big old flat area.
But I mean, they literally told me at all times you need to have a scarf and goggles. And as soon as they told me that, I'm like, no.
But
I
the
want to.
experience that it could have given you,
I'm sure it would have been an amazing experience for like 12 hours.
you'd go.
I'd probably go once.
But you can't get
check
out,
it
though. That's
out.
the problem, is that supposedly, like, once you're there, you can't leave, or it's not easy to leave. You know what I mean?
Because of traffic jams getting in or something. Is that what it is?
Do you leave the Reds game in the 7th inning?
Yes.
to avoid
I'm
traffic?
That guy.
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Yeah.
You stay all the way for the whole game, don't you, Catfish?
Well,
Don't you?
I walk across the bridge. Yeah, I don't drive.
Yeah.
It's your first mistake.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like these types of conversations, be sure to follow The Necessary Entrepreneur on your favorite platform so you never miss out on future content.
You know what I mean? But I'd be good at Burning Man for 12 hours, maybe 24. I think I'd be solid. But I mean, after that, I'd be done.
I wonder if there's anything good coming out of that now.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Community. There's people that go every year to. It's like a family reunion to them.
And could you imagine the time and the effort some of these people go through to build something just
There's
to light on fire?
installations and see
Just-
that's the coolest
Yeah.
thing to me too.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah,
Like
like,
fleeting art.
yeah, I've
That's
got a friend
awesome.
of mine that spent a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of money building a teeter-totter that when you were fully extended on it, you were 22 feet in the air.
It's a hell of a teeter-totter.
Yeah. And you know what he did? He cut it up with a torch and scrapped it.
Afterwards,
It was just too big and it got in the way. You know how much time and money he spent building that. And he's an artist. He just, I mean, and he looked at me like, I got the scrap value out of it.
sometimes I won't understand and comprehend the artist mindset, but I guess it's awesome. Because that, to me, I bet he's okay with it.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine.
He's like, I created it. I made it. That was what it was about. Oh, well, it's not here anymore.
That's what I love about. I mean, how boring would it be if we were all the same?
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Like people can't comprehend how someone can live in a van where that person can't comprehend how you have a mortgage and live in a house. I mean, why would you want to do that?
What would be your word? What's Catfish's word?
Glorious. It's probably the word I say most. 'Cause life is glorious. That's when I started at the farm, and it's what Richard Stewart, the owner, told Justin. He's like, Justin, I want you to do whatever you want to do. Like you dream up the food and alcohol world, like distill bitters, vinegar, and for me, it's like you run with the music and art aspect. So he just lets us do our thing and have fun with it. And
I mean, we call Catfish our community outreach coordinator. That's his actual title, and it couldn't be a better title. You know what I mean?
It's a good title.
You know what I mean? He works closely with the Oxbow. He works closely with ARI. He works closely with Groundworks. You know, we've got a real cool relationship with Queen City Commons. Have you heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
They're a not-for-profit in town that pick up compostable food waste from businesses and entities and deliver them to 2 or 3 different composting operations. We have a very large composting operation out at Carriage House Farms, and actually, we just got a grant from Hamilton County Solid Waste to expand that operation. So we're pouring a bunch of concrete, bringing some more equipment in for infrastructure. So actually, they just hooked up with one of the oldest businesses in Cincinnati. There's a business downtown. I can't remember the exact name of it. They're behind Rheingeist, kind of on the alley. But
So
they
north side of OTR.
Yeah, they showed up in the 1800s, basically.
Probably around soap. Somebody making soap because all the pigs were here and stuff.
No, it was based around the breweries and distilleries and everything. They started harvesting yeast, and they did a lot of stuff with yeast and yeast strains, I guess, up until kind of Prohibition. And then I think they went into a lot of feed additives. So there's a lot of beneficial yeast that are used in animal feeds. So I think they kind of pivoted around the alcohol prohibition era and then kind of reemerged. So they've been down there forever, but they produce like 3 tons of a compostable product every week. So they just hooked up with Queen City Commons, and Queen City Commons is going to start taking that and composting it. But it's a really cool program to be involved in, because now we have that composting aspect on the farm. So now when we bring these Groundworks kids out and we can show them a pile of what we call black gold after it's done composting down into our beneficial dirt that we use on the farm, you know what I mean? These kids can look at one pile and they can see spent produce and pretzels and stuff laying on the ground, and then 30 feet away, they see this big pile of dirt that is completely finished and composted and ready to be spread back on the ground again. And then we tell them that was a part of 1 million pounds of food scraps that was picked up by this company, Queen City Commons. So then you can kind of start putting that circle together, and and then the kid starts thinking about, oh, these are the banana peels in the morning. If I put them in a compost bin, this is what I get in the end. And then that's what we use to amend our soil to grow tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce that we use to feed these kids when they come in. So like the first time we started working with Groundworks, all these kids show up to work. And lunch break, all I see is Mountain Dew, Pepsi, potato chips, candy bars. Very few of these kids, even if any of them were actually eating,
understand nutrition and all
anything
these
nutritious.
Yeah.
So I started talking to the folks that run Groundworks, and I was like, hey, listen, we want these kids to come out, but we want them to be able to perform at the level that they should be performing at. And that's all based around nutrition and healthy eating. So ever since we've worked with them, lunch is a part of the day. And it is a lunch that I prepare with the help from a couple of the Groundworks kids. We will go out to the high tunnel, we'll harvest lettuce, we'll harvest carrots, whatever's in season. And then that will be a part of lunch. And then we'll break early from work and we'll all sit down and we will eat lunch together and enjoy lunch together. And, and I think it's made a huge impact on a lot of these kids. Not all the kids, but I think a lot of the kids that actually give a shit, and the ones that kind of can open their eyes and see the way things work outside of the bubble that they were raised in. Like Catfish was saying with the horse, like these, it's those special moments when you can see, a kid's eyes light up and be like, wow.
How'd this Justin become this Justin?
I've been extremely fortunate to have a lot of extremely good friends and mentors that I've listened to and learned from. It's like I tell my kids, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You know what I mean? And what I know is due to who I know.
But how'd you get to know those people?
Just being a nice guy, I guess. Being inquisitive, always wanting to learn. You know what I mean? It was crazy. I graduated from Johnson & Wales culinary school, and I had went to school with a friend of mine. One of my roommates in college was a kid from Dayton, and he had taken a job at the Masonette when he got out of culinary school. So he started working in the kitchen, and I think he was making $7.58, $8 an hour, $78 an hour. And I grew up very modest. Both my parents worked. You know what I mean? When I went to culinary school, I paid my way through school. I worked 2 jobs through school, and most of those jobs were in front of the house, waiting tables, bussing tables. So my buddy Scott says, hey, Masonette's hiring. Won't you come apply? So I came into town. I had 2 interviews in the same day. The interview in the mornings with George Hayden, who was the chef at the time, and he offered me a position in Garde Manger, which was the cold salad station, for $7.50 an hour. That afternoon, I had an interview with Richard Brown, who was the maitre d' front of the house. At that point in time, I had almost 5 years of front of the house experience of any sort or of some sort. And so he offered me a job with my culinary background as what was called a back server. So the Masonette had teams of servers. So there was a captain, a front server, and a back server. So all 3 of them were out on the floor, but the back server was more taking care of the food in the kitchen, getting it from the kitchen to the table, and then presented at the table properly. So I guess Richard just believed in me. I was the youngest back of the house person ever hired in the history of the Masonette. I was working with people that were in their late 60s and early 70s in some cases, and people that had worked there for 25 years, of which they had held their 5-star rating. And imagine being a kid 3 months out of graduating from culinary school, going to a mobile 5-star restaurant and telling the chef, I'm not taking the job. George Hayden wouldn't look at me. And I was working the front of the house at his restaurant. And I felt like shit. So 2 days a week, I would put on my whites and I would show up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I would work the lunch shift for free.
For how long?
Over a year.
See, that's the shit kids, they're not doing now. You've done a lot of jobs where you haven't gotten paid what you could have been paid.
Oh, yeah.
Right? All of us have. That's the piece. That's the unlock. Because I know you became the guy through the experiences of doing the things, meeting the people, them respecting you and the job you did, opening doors, know your name, more opportunities.
Everybody in that restaurant respected me.
There you go.
Everybody. And I believe that was because, you know what I mean, I showed that I gave a shit.
Busted
and
your
I wanted
man.
to learn.
You cared about doing a good job. See, you care about doing a good job. Whatever you do, you can be a perfectionist, you can be this, but you care about doing a good job.
Right.
You're a guy who wants to stand back and say, that feels good. That looks good. I don't care if anybody else thinks it's awesome. That's awesome.
When you sit up on the ridgeline and look down during the Whispering Beard and you sit there and, I mean, you can see what these guys have taken 16 years to build. You know what I mean? And when I say I got hugged by more grown men on that Sunday than ever before, you know what I mean? They have spent 16 years building a community, building a tribe. And that tribe is a lot bigger than just Whispering Beard. You know what I mean? That tribe has turned into Music Fund Cincinnati. I mean, that Music Fund Cincinnati has turned into the Mad Tree Summer Music Series. I mean, that Mad Tree Summer Music Series has turned into the Great Pickle Show. You know what I mean? That Great Pickle Show has turned into the STEM with ARI and, you know what I mean, Birding Man with the Oxbow. You know what I mean? All these events are based around learning, being outside, music, food, and having fun and doing cool shit.
And playing loud classical music when you're
Loud classical
when
music.
you're rolling up to the to the show every day. The what do you guys hope? You talked about the fallacy of the American dream. We could talk about an hour for that. I'd love it. Like I really here's the thing. I really like Catfish. I like you, dude.
Thank you.
I think you're an awesome guy. We have some differences on some things, on some perspectives, on some takeaways.
I'm sure we do.
However, the core of the way we think, it's probably really similar. I bet it is. I think we search for differences now when they're really irrelevant, and most people we're searching for those where there's a lot we have in common. But I'm like, but don't you have a dream around this though?
Around Whispering Beard or around
the farm, around everything you guys are doing? Because here's what I hear. I hear a lot of altruistic things on impacting kids coming out of this. I hear about ideas that you come up with, and when you have an idea, you think about how special it could be and how cool it could be. That's a dream. It's a thought. It's like, what if? And let's get to work building it. Doesn't have to be the American dream, but I think dreams are good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys like? Are you just 6 months ahead? 1 year ahead? Like, what's the biggest idea what this could become? Is anybody even thinking about that, or no, it's just evolving?
I always, it can be very overwhelming because there is a lot of there can be a lot of selfishness in having a dream and in wanting to be the person that brings this stuff to it. But also I like that. I like focusing on what impact one person can have. And that doesn't have to be this huge thing. It can be a domino effect. If you affect a couple people's lives and then they go on to affect a couple people's lives. We don't have to be this huge, because it's overwhelming. How do you get to there? Well, you start today and you just go day by day. So you can have big dreams, but I think it's good to dream big, but also we're just one individual, right? So how do you get there? You take a step.
And we're all very fortunate that there's not a tremendous amount on the line, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not like we've got a $2 million mortgage hanging over our heads or anything like that. You know what I mean? What we've built organically. You know what I mean? Richard's family has owned that farm for 6 generations, since 1855. You know what I mean? That farm's been paid off a long time. I mean, not that we don't pay to play. You know what I mean? Obviously, we've got rent and bills and all that other kind of stuff. But we've managed that overhead and we've managed that growth. You know what I mean? I've seen what one unit can produce, and I've seen what 14 units can produce. And a lot of times there's not a lot of difference between 1 and 14, if you get my point.
What do you mean? Go a little deeper on that.
You've got restaurateurs that are extremely successful that have multiple locations. And I'm sure if you asked a lot of those restaurateurs how many locations they would prefer to have, they would say 1. You know what I mean? You see a lot of extremely accomplished chefs these days just cashing in and going and doing their own thing. And I mean, I'm talking about, 15, 20 seats, 1 or 2 covers, or 1 or 2 flips a night, and that's it. You know what I mean? I've seen chefs that have, 20 people a night, and that's it. I'm done. And I make the menu. It's my menu. I cook. You know what I mean? And that's what it's gotten to. You know what I mean? It's like, I love Jose Salazar. Jose Salazar does amazing things. You know what I mean? And he's got 3 restaurants. And those 3 restaurants, can be a headache. You know what I mean? And it's hard to concentrate on 3 different concepts. But, he's got a good, solid team behind him. You know what I mean? And then there's other people like Jeff Ruby, who is kind of the name. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not his money. People think, oh, that's all Jeff Ruby's money. Yeah, Jeff Ruby's got a lot of investors, and and they figured out how to do steaks and marketing really well. and they're very successful. You know what I mean? But would I want that headache? Hell no. You know what I mean? It's employing all those people, and I mean, especially in the atmosphere we're in now. You know what I mean? Especially since COVID. You know what I mean? I don't understand how restaurants are doing it. You know what I mean? I do consulting. You know what I mean? I've consulted on a lot of different projects for a lot of different chefs and restaurants and concepts and stuff like that. And it's just, you know what I mean, there is no worse time to be in this business. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, you can't touch a dishwasher for under 15 to 20 bucks an hour. You know what I mean? And people wonder why you go out to, you know what I mean, eat fried chicken or a burger, and you know what I mean, 4 people, it's $75 to $100.
It's on the brink of the cost being out of control from a consumer, a consumer's mind.
And guess what?
Regardless of what it costs, I'm just telling you the cost here. I'm not focused on the business at all. I just know when I'm like, okay, I'm exchanging this money that I worked to have, and I'm exchanging it for this dinner tonight. Just as a consumer who doesn't know anything about the restaurant business, it's getting to a point where it feels like it's out of control.
And guess what? The worst part about it is
they're not making a bunch of money.
No,
I know.
You're eating really shitty food.
Half the places.
95% of the places you are eating really shitty food.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
This is good. See, this is good. So we talked about the misery of the music business. Now we're talking about the misery of the food business. This is good.
Well,
Okay.
I mean,
It's good.
if you're at a CAFO,
No.
caged animal feeding operations, 99% of the proteins in the United States that you find in the grocery stores and that people eat come from CAFO operations.
You guys are sitting here talking to, you guys are actually healthy and you eat organic and stuff. You're talking to the individual that eats all that dumb shit. So here you go. I'm your specimen. Go here on it. Attack me, yell at me. I've
got the 90-10 rule.
Yeah.
90% of the time I try to do the right thing. 10% of the time I do whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like I eat out.
Yeah.
And I eat shitty food sometimes, but you know what I mean?
But you make better decisions more often than you don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I don't.
I mean, I've got
I don't with food.
I've got 3 freezers in my basement,
Yeah.
and I know pretty much every single piece of protein that I put on my family's plate. I know where it came from and who raised
So you're passionate about that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I've seen the flip side of
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? I've seen how animals are treated. I've seen how animals are processed. You know what I mean? I'm an amateur butcher. You know what I mean? I dismember animals for a living, or I used to. And
Jesus.
and I got extremely
Justin.
Not for fun, but for food purposes.
and I got extremely good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in that process, you know what I mean, I would seek out the Will Harrises. You know what I mean, the people that are doing it right. You know what I mean, Will Harris has a regenerative agriculture farm, and it's amazing what he's done. You know what I mean, he's got 2 USDA inspected slaughterhouses on his property that he owns and processes his own product off his farm. And his animals are on pasture, in sunshine, rain, whatever, for their entire lives. And the animals that most people consume on a regular basis live in, you mean like chicken is the most disgusting protein but it's 90% of the people eat chicken, and it's raised where animals are defecating on each other. And, you know what I mean, they have inches to live in. You know what I mean? Those are where your eggs are coming from. You know what I mean? And it's such a junk show because government controls all of this bullshit, and all these politicians and people paying off politicians and all this. And it's just, you know what I mean? There is no like country of origin labeling regulations anymore. It's like, you know what I mean? I can bring beef from China to the United States and repackage it in a USDA inspected processing facility, and then I can put a made in America label on it. I mean, it's disgusting. You know what I mean? And people have no idea where most of their food is coming from.
Let me ask you a question. Let me give some pushback here. I'm good at this because I don't have any knowledge about it. But could it be done at the scale and the volume the right way? Could it be? Like you're talking about Will Harris and this farm.
No, it's because people demand cheap food. And until people stop demanding cheap food, it's never going to change. And that's why it's gotten to where it's at now.
Do you think we're just fortunate, though, because we have the money where we don't have to buy cheap food?
No.
I'm going to disagree a little there. I'm back to the power of the individual. I think and Will's talked about it, where it can be a profitable thing on small scale. And it's just about, when we go to the farmer's market every week, I'm paying less at a farmer's market than I am at Kroger for any produce from these local guys.
I want to hear this, though. I don't know.
I'm paying less for my eggs, where I know where the chickens are from, than I am for the organic free range eggs that
you're exaggerating a bit. You're exaggerating a bit.
No way.
I mean,
is that
what are you paying for a dozen eggs at market? $5?
Yeah. What's it at Kroger? $7.
$3.
No.
Dude, I was forced to buy eggs yesterday because I was out and I was making chocolate zucchini bread, and I had to buy Kroger eggs, and I bought their Healthy Choice cage-free egg for less than $4 a dozen.
So, I don't know.
So this is good, though. So I love it, guys that love each other. See, this is actually what should be this is us sitting around a fire having a beer around friends, and you can have good debate. Like, this is actually what life should be, right?
Yeah.
And too many people are too scared of this shit. It's like, you all love each other, but let's have debate. But here's what I would say. Could the world be filled with farmers markets if they're on
Yes.
Kroger's?
Yes.
It could.
Yes.
There's enough emphasis. Like, you really could.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I was growing up,
Mhm.
we had a garden, and we had mason jars.
We had a garden that was an acre. Most people wouldn't
Exactly.
call it a garden. It was
So
huge, yeah.
we had a root cellar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We processed tomatoes. We processed green beans. We made applesauce.
Canned them. You did all this stuff.
We did all this
Yeah.
stuff.
A lot of us
And-
grew up. Did you grow up that way too? Del High. Look at this whole role reversal here.
I did a little bit. We would do
Mr. IGA,
make our
Mr.
own
IGA,
applesauce.
IGA
But
living.
unfortunately, yeah, we're a Kroger family,
Damn.
and
But
not anymore.
Yeah.
I don't.
But think back. I mean, if you go back and start looking at, like, when Bird's Eye started doing processed and frozen vegetables, when you see the Hungry Man dinner hit, and you see, you know, it was after the war, and it was after, you know what I mean, all of these factories started to open up and industrialized America happened, is when everything got ruined. You know what I mean? If you, like, go back and talk to Will Harris, you know what I mean? He talks about the guy after World War II that showed up with the ammonium nitrate fertilizer in town. And he brought a 50-pound bag. He gave everybody 5 pounds and told them to go back, sprinkle it on their grass, water it, don't look at it for 2 days, and then come back and tell me what you see. And from that day on, every single one of these guys started spending their money on ammonium nitrate fertilizer to make their grass grow twice as fast and twice as green. But at the point in time, they didn't realize that what they were putting on the soil was going to kill the organic organisms in that soil. So, I mean, Will Harris took over a piece of property that literally had 0.5% of organic matter left in the soil. And now he's built that up to over 5 to 7% organic matter by just taking animals and letting them do what they do.
Yeah,
Eat, shit, sleep.
I think it can be done, and it has been done. I mean, that's how they fed people during World War II, was victory gardens. Everyone had a victory garden. And they were like, look, we need you to start producing food. And we grew our own food.
People got lazy. And then once they got lazy, they got fat, obese, they got diabetes, they got heart disease. You know what I mean? And it was easy. It was easy for mom to go and get frozen food or a quick reheat meal. And I mean, now, I mean, you can barely turn around anything that you buy at the grocery store and see anything less than 10 or 15 ingredients. You know what I mean? It's
So what do we do?
Wake up.
I think we're doing it. I think people are waking up to it. I think there's more small farms opening every year. I think people are getting somewhat hip to it. I mean, look at the farmers markets in the greater Cincinnati area over the last 10 years.
They blossom. There's one in every little community.
Yeah.
now.
I used to work 20 years ago. There was maybe 5 in the greater Cincinnati area.
People knew Findlay Market, and everybody brought their stuff there.
Yeah.
But now every community
There's
has one.
100 of them.
Yeah.
And they all have great farms, great ranchers. So I just think it's a matter of knowing your farmer, knowing your rancher.
You know, and it was amazing. You know what I mean? When I started working at the Masonette, you know what I mean, the amount of ingredients that came into that restaurant was amazing. I mean, they were flying Dover sole in from France, and I mean, they were getting the best beef tenderloin and all this stuff. But I mean, you see all this stuff coming in, and it's like one of my best friends and one of my greatest mentors is a guy by the name of Steve Geddes. Steve Geddes is a master sommelier. There are currently less than 200 people in the world that hold that title. He is also a chef, and there are 2 certified chefs and master sommeliers in the world, and Steve is one of them. I got Steve to come into town through a mutual friend who's another master sommelier to help me open basically the first farm-to-table, quote-unquote, restaurant in the city. Steve left a 6-figure job and came to Cincinnati to work for a lot less than that, and gave me a 3-month contract. Steve left 3 years later. He calls me his hillbilly Sherpa.
What the hell's that mean?
Steve was in Vegas, and you know what I mean? He was a chef and a master sommelier and could write his own ticket. He could work anywhere he wanted to. He knew more about food and wine than most of the people will ever know in their entire lives. And he was sitting at these restaurants and sitting at these tables and watching all this beautiful food being prepared and had no idea where it was coming from.
What's he doing now?
He's back out in Vegas. He moved back out there. He's working at, he and his wife are working at one of the large steakhouse. It's a corporate. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 locations, and his wife is in charge of the wine program, and he's actually the food and beverage director. But Steve wanted to know where his food came from. You know what I mean? He saw those chanterelle mushrooms, those morel mushrooms coming in the door, but had no idea where they were coming from. I mean, they were coming from a company that was putting them in a box, and they were shipping them FedEx, and they were getting them in. So, you know what I mean? Steve and I would visit at least one farm every single week and help that farmer harvest. I mean, have conversations with them, talk about the next year. And in 365 days, we dealt with over 60 farms. I mean, sometimes we would deal with that farm every single week. Sometimes we would deal with them once or twice a year, depending on what they produced. You know what I mean? But it was the highest quality product, as fresh and as close to the epicenter as we could possibly get. So, I mean, we literally had a red circle at 127 West 4th Street, downtown Cincinnati, and that was our home base. And we circled out from there and trying to stay as close as we possibly could. And, you know, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we've got Kenny's Farmhouse cheese, Capriole cheese. So, I mean, we've got a cow's milk cheese producer in Kentucky. We've got one of the greatest goat cheese producers in the world is producing just on the other side of Louisville in Indiana. You know what I mean? We have some of the best beef in the United States is being produced up in Columbus by these groups of farmers that are raising Wagyu genetics. I mean, Sakura Wagyu, they're doing amazing work.
You all know this. The average citizen doesn't, though. And maybe that's going to grow through. I mean, I'm just telling you, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know these things you're talking about, right? And my mind's always on. I watch YouTube. I'm on the internet. I listen to folks. I meet a lot of people. I don't know these things.
And this is what I've done.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
I get it, but it's important, right? I mean, this is important if we're talking about, going back to our roots and being more healthy and making a better impact on the world. And
I mean, it's like my kids
Yeah.
and my kids' friends.
Yeah.
A lot of them know where their food comes from because of me and what I do. You know what I mean?
Who's got the YouTube channel? I'm sure there's somebody that has a YouTube channel.
Nope.
Then why not you guys?
Nope. I don't want no part of that.
Oh yeah,
But don't you? But here's the thing. But aren't you trying to spread? Don't you want to share these things? Though?
Yeah, but I'm not the kind of person that I'm not gonna. To me, that is not success, and that is not financially successful. You know what I mean?
I don't care about that. Who cares about the money?
Yeah,
spreading what you know and the knowledge and the passion. And,
but it takes time and money.
Doesn't take a lot of money on YouTube.
I just read a book on mindful bird watching, and in this book, they talk about and you know how much we know all the information, we know all the doom and gloom, we know the microplastics, we know all this stuff, and people are tired of hearing about it. So I'm not going to go talk about that stuff. I want to get people out and introduce them to these things through getting outdoors, through trying new food, through farmers markets, through music. Because I mean, there's so much info out there. What's actual, and what's real is what you feel. So when you can get people to feel these things themselves, that's that to me is the change.
And that's success, and that's what we're trying to build at the farm. And you asked about if we had too much stuff going on to concentrate on no. You know what I mean? It all goes back to the root. You know what I mean? I mean, we're trying to show people it's not what life used to be like, but what life used to be like. You know what I mean? I mean, things have gotten way too complicated. You know what I mean? The food system has gotten way too complicated. You know what I mean? And it's made it unattainable for a lot of people. You know what I mean? A lot of people can't afford to pay $7.50 or $8 a pound for organic, regenerative, grass-fed beef from White Oak pastures.
No, it's not, guys. It's not even an option for a lot of folks.
No.
These days.
No,
it's just not.
It's not.
Well, and what does organic mean anymore?
Yeah, but but if you and 2 or 3 of your neighbors went in together and bought a whole cow off of a local farmer that raised it and processed it, and you are probably, just say at the end of the day, you get 200 pounds and you pay $7 a pound for that. Okay. That's $1,400. It's a lot of money. You know what I mean? But you take the equivalent of 200 pounds and you go to Kroger and buy it. You know what I mean? If you're going to Kroger and you're paying $18, $19, $22 a pound for T-bone strip or filet mignon steak for dinner for that night, you know what I mean? You bought it from the farmer and you paid $7.50 a pound for it. But you also paid $7.50 a pound for ground beef. You know what I mean? But when you start working the math and working that equation, it's not that much more expensive. It just, you have to take the time to do it. And that's what most people don't. You know what I mean? It's easier for people to get on this device, a cell phone, and do their order for Kroger for the week and set up a time for them to pull into a parking space and open their trunk and have some teenage kid come out and unload it into their car. You know what I mean? That is what's happened to our society. And it's people have gotten used to being lazy. And I think a lot of the laziness has come also from how busy people have gotten.
See that
and how expensive things have gotten. I mean, now a husband and a wife both work full-time jobs.
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do when you get home is to spend 2 hours cooking a meal.
Yep.
Yeah, but my aha moment is, okay, so we do all this stuff to save time, and then what do we spend our time on? On our phones? You're not spending that time, quality time with family or anything. You're just spending it. So it's not.
Life has become, and we talked about it, but I just don't want to make the statement. We can have a conversation around this. Life has become busy and effing complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really am. Like, as you're talking about this, I leaned back, and what I was thinking about was my average day. Guys, I don't waste much time. There's a lot of shit to do. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Just being honest. Like, there's a lot to do.
And then you put kids into it. And then you put kids' sports into it. You know what I mean? You start putting all of these things into it. And
life's way more complicated than when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, guys. And we've made it that way, but it just is. And I don't know why. I don't know why we have to do more. I don't know. I don't know why we have to do
with
more
everything
things.
That's gotten easier to do.
Yeah.
Why is it more complicated? Is it us making it more complicated?
Well, obviously we are. Culture and society has, you know. But I think it's because, too, who knows, guys, but everything's at our fingertips now. I think that, you know, what I just said, like I'm going to go to Indy and watch Jason Isbell. And, you know, we're going to Reds games on certain nights. And tonight I'm going to go to Pompilio's for dinner. Probably doesn't have any better food than it, but I'm going there with some friends and haven't seen them for a while. And I just look at my calendar and all the things now. We weren't doing all those things when I was a kid. We didn't have the money, but we weren't doing. It wasn't important to do the things. Life was simple. Like you said, you would be gone for a whole day as a kid, and you'd just be wherever. Kids aren't doing that anymore. The kids have schedules now.
But also, your dad would probably drop you off or pick you up from basketball practice with a high ball between his legs too.
Well, my mom was a responsible piece of
my
shit.
My dad would forget to pick me up from basketball practice. I had to walk home.
But I think about my mom back then, and they didn't try to do as many things, guys.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have the time for it.
No, but I actually think that
They didn't have time for it.
Here's why, because life was more simple. Because think about it now. We have the same 24 hours in a day right now. So if my mom back then didn't do as many things, it's the same 24 hours in a day. It's what we choose to spend our time on. All she did was go to work and take care of the family. That's all she did. She wasn't trying, but she wasn't just trying to. It wasn't always about like going and buying a new car or going to this concert or going out that restaurant and meeting friends.
There's Pilates, there's pickleball.
That's what I'm saying. That's none of that stuff was there, and so unfortunately, with how we've built life now, there's not time for me to spend to make this thing about food a priority. And I'm not talking about whether it should be or not. I'm just telling you, there's not.
Right.
Guess what?
There's just not.
Guess what?
It should be at what? What?
Do you know who's gonna?
Yeah, we're gonna suffer.
Yeah.
So I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not stating a fact or making an opinion. I'm just sitting back here and saying, okay, well, for us to go all in and be passionate about it, you can make an argument we should. Yeah, go out and grow a garden. You know how much time it took to grow a garden?
Mm-hmm.
A ton. And so now we're putting all these things to do.
I've already pickled 12 quarts of beets this year. And I'll start processing and putting up tomatoes in the next 2 weeks.
I'm actually not making an argument you're doing it wrong. I'm making an argument that it's probably the better way to do life. But we're talking about unwinding society and how complicated
it's never going to happen.
This. Yeah,
that's
what I'm talking.
It's never going to happen.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So then how do you guys help?
But like Catfish said,
yeah.
I mean, there is that percentage of the population that gives a shit and wants to do the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've given my kids enough information to go on, and now I can't control them the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's kind of in line with what you're saying. You're like, I'm just one guy. Let me try to go out here and make a difference every day. Let me bring some people into the environment.
And if they think that's cool and that's what they want to try out, then great. But
you give my son, if you say, hey Max, do you want to go play Xbox or do you want to go kayaking with Catfish? He's going to kayak with Catfish every day.
Because you've exposed him to it.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He enjoys being outside. You know what I mean? He doesn't, you know what I mean? It's
I don't know. I grew up on video games, but I haven't played a video game in 25 years. But why is that? I don't know. Maybe
changes.
Because I grew up catching salamanders and playing in creeks.
You know what I mean? Life changes.
Fishing.
But wasn't life way more simple even for parents back then? I didn't say easy, simple.
Yeah, probably less things.
Yep.
Like clubs and all these sporting events. I played 10 baseball games a year growing up. My nephew plays 100. It's ridiculous. And all over the country. And then they got to get hotels at all these things. The one that I just
and then you wonder why this 17, 18, 19-year-old kid has had 5 surgeries and is, you know what I mean, he's got a full ride scholarship to school for baseball, but he loses it his sophomore year because he's injured and never gets to play ball. You know what I mean? And that's because somebody has pushed him and pushed his body beyond what
Y'all screwed it up. We said at the beginning, y'all screwed. Yeah, baby boomers screwed it up. It's all your damn fault.
I just read something. The big thing now are all these sliding mitts that you see the pros wear. Now all these kids got to have them. So some kids can't afford them, so they'll show up with oven mitts. We didn't wear sliding mitts. You got your finger stepped on. You
got your fingers.
Got your finger stepped on. Like, where are these things? One thing
Catfish, come on now. Are you saying that seatbelts weren't important too?
We didn't have seatbelts.
I know that, but are you trying to take those away?
No,
some innovation is good.
Some innovation's good, right? But not a $50 sliding mitt. when a $1 oven mitt will do the same thing.
What about that $3,000 guitar some of these musicians roll up with, or that $10,000 Martin or whatever it is? What about that?
Absolutely. Well, they grow to that.
Okay.
I think most people start out with that
$60 guitar they started playing. They're still beating it up to this day.
Yeah,
a little modest ovation for a few $100 that you can plug in and play acoustically if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. I'm odd. I still like to. I'll have an argument with someone and they'll be like, "Let's look it up and find out who's right." And I say, "No, I just want to wonder." Just want to wonder if I'm right or wrong. Why do we need to establish who's right or wrong? We don't wonder anymore. Everything's got to be known.
See, the movie Wanderlust, you're starting a commune. You're calling it folk festivals. Everybody's naked half the time on these weekends.
No commune. I could not live with other people.
And this is Catfish used to own a coffee shop in Ludlow, like he was saying. And tell him what your motto was at your coffee shop.
Oh, my unofficial motto was "Let me be your second cup," because I didn't open until 8.
He said he owned a coffee shop and he opened at 8 a.m.
No wonder it's not open, Catfish.
Yes.
I want to be your second cup.
Oh, I don't want to do anything forever. I've never been that way. I wanted to say this earlier about the humble beginnings and about how you get to where you are. And I always felt something was wrong with me growing up in grade school and high school, because all my teachers, everyone is telling you got to go to college, you got to know what you want to do and all this stuff. And my friends knew what they wanted to become, and they're surgeons. They're, whatever they wanted to become, they became. I never knew what I wanted to do. And I really feel like I felt that was wrong. And I don't think that's wrong. What's the matter with just living and then finding out what you're good at and what you like doing? Why do you need to know that what do you know at 14? Why do you need to know what you're going to do with the rest of your life at 14? And I feel like that's all this pressure and stuff that we give these kids now, instead of just saying, look, just go be, and you're going to work. Whatever you do, you're going to work. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to work something and we saw that with our parents, and what, they would work these jobs and work for these companies for their entire lives.
Miserable.
And for what? The companies didn't care. Like, so why do we do that?
Why do we?
Pressure, I feel. And the needing to have everything now.
Do you know how many people go to work hating their jobs every single day?
I believe a lot. I'm in a bubble now that the bubble I'm in is a very optimistic bubble now. And I say that because you might have felt weird, but I'm unfortunately unique. And it's not an accolade I'm giving to myself. Unfortunately unique because I believe you can create the life you want. I just do. And I think being miserable in your job is so unnecessary. It's just almost incomprehensible to me. And so I want to look at those people and I want to say, you're stupid.
But
You
just
have a
think
choice.
but you think if you put all of your eggs in one basket in the beginning, and you felt that was, that's all you had, and that's what a lot of people have done.
But here's what I think, though. Here's what I love is that I don't think it's necessarily the thing that we have; it's who we become.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
I don't think people have the balls. Most people don't have the balls.
Well, they need to then.
Most people don't have the balls to say, I'm miserable and I'm going to stop and I'm going to find happiness.
Well,
and
that's their fault then. And that's what I'm saying. I'm in my bubble. I'm in this bubble that I realize that most things aren't impossible. There aren't many things in this life that are impossible for us. There's not many things. Like, there's example after example after example of people that have done it all these ways and become their definition of success. And when I say their definition of success is, we need to remove the monetary piece from success. And I'm like, what did you want to do? What do you want to do? Write down the thing you want to do, and that could be today. It doesn't have to be when you're 14 to know, but it's like, this is the job I chose today. Then fucking do it.
Yeah.
And do it great and be amazing. Because what I know is wherever that thing ends up, 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, 4 or 5 years, you're going to be a lot better of a human because you became really good at something. And the stuff you can prove to yourself, the confidence you can build, the self-esteem that gets developed. And so if you go all in at something, what I believe is that you're going to be more prepared and way better and ready to do the next thing.
I think it's been like that forever too.
Yeah.
Like Thoreau wrote about that. Instead of going and studying and learning in school and learning all these things, just go get a job if that's not your thing.
And
in
be
that
great.
area.
And just be great.
And just learn.
What's your
Like,
pushback on that about going? I think people, here's why they should go all in. Here's about my life. I've had massive financial strife a couple times in my life. And shit happens, man. So COVID happened for restaurants and some people. The 2008 crisis happened to me when I just started my real estate company, right? This is going to happen. Live life long enough, crisis is going to show up financially. It's going to. It's life. All these successful people, they all have the story, but they didn't stop. See, that's the thing. It's like if it causes you to go live under a bridge in a box for 6 months, it's worth it. I don't care. It's worth it. Because if you keep going, you're actually going to start to live the life you want to live. And it's not about money, but what money allows us to do. It gives us effing freedom. It does, guys.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know what the whole point was about, like, going all in. They should have the balls to go all in.
It's like
guts.
It's like if you heard the podcast How I Built This?
Yeah.
Guy Raz.
Yeah.
I was listening to the one about kayak, not the
site
kayak you paddle, the
site that you can for traveling and stuff. Yeah.
The founder of kayak, the first he built like, I think he's built like 12 or 14 businesses already.
Yeah, he's a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, and his goal is like 3 or 4 a year until he retires. You know what I mean? But he was talking about the first time he ever made money, and he made like $2 million. Within 12 months, he must gave all that away. He didn't want the money. He was scared of it. I mean, he was scared of what that money was going to bring. And it's just,
the person he became could do it again. I just think this idea of being scared, listen, life's scary at times. There's things that I start to do that it doesn't feel comfortable, right? But if you got to show up with a little courage. You just have to. If you want to live a great life, you got to face it. You got to face the fear. I don't think we're going to make the fear go away, right? The feeling I have so I have claustrophobia at times. It's real. I don't know where the hell it came from, but it's real. Even when I get into elevators, right? Okay, here's the thing. I can either have the pain of going up and down steps 9 floors multiple times a day. I don't care how healthy you are. That's a lot of steps. You can do that, or you can overcome the fear and get in the damn elevator and things are more efficient. At times, I'll go walk into an airplane, and at times, that airplane's closing in. And it's all mental. Okay, guess what? If I give in to the fear and don't show up with some courage, I'm not going to be able to travel. Not going to be able to do fun things. It's the same thing. Like, you want a free life. Unfortunately, how complicated life is now, like these phones. I mean, we got to pay a bill for these things. If you don't make some money to pay your $100 and something a month, you don't have access to the thing. So you got to show up in life, and you got to do something really well and face it. If not, life's going to suck. But I think the most important thing is, like, what do you want to do today? That's why goals are important.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I appreciate the wanderlust approach, and, like, I think what you guys are building is awesome. I do. I think this is really cool what you're doing. But you still got to have goals, and I guarantee you do.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Guarantee you do. And then whatever you set out to do, you're like, we're going to put a plan in place to organize this festival and make it the best it could possibly be. That's stinking hard. It's really hard, and sometimes it's scary. I bet there's times it's like, well, where are we going to get the money for that? And you got to figure it out. Right?
Oh, every year is going to be our last year.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the people that are scared, I'm just at this place. I'm like, screw you. I mean, really.
Yeah, but some people just, it's not in their DNA.
Yeah, but here's what I'm going to tell you then. Then that life, that's a terrible life.
I agree.
So you have to realize you got to take control and make a change and be willing to do the things you guys are doing. And you can do this shit being poor. Because that truck driver that you were, what I know is there's someone in Cincinnati that's the best truck driver.
Oh, yeah.
And that guy is valuable to everyone. So whatever you want to do, farm, there's probably somebody that you know that has the best organic farm in Cincinnati. And if it's not just one, there's 3 or 4 that you're probably like, those people do it well. They can financially be very successful doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can change their life and live the life that they want. I think the issue is it's not being scared. I don't think people give a shit about what they're doing anymore. I think a lot of people get up and they go into that job at 8 or 9 o'clock and they just go through their effing day and they don't care about doing a great job and they're doing it to collect the money at the end of the day. They're on this hamster wheel, pay the bill at the end of the week and just keep it going. And it's on them to give a shit about what they do when they get up. That's the damn problem. I don't think it's laziness. I think it's a commitment to do a good effing job. I hate it. It drives me insane. And so I don't have patience for them. I don't. So I'm really sympathetic to people these days that have bad situations. I am. But I'm like, do something. Ain't nobody coming to save you, man. Do something. I guarantee you guys feel that when you're around employees of the farm.
That's why there's like 5, 6 of us.
There you go. Does it work well?
Yeah. I mean, because we all have our, for the most part.
Is there a hierarchy? Is there a hierarchy, though, of decisions? Because you're thinking about all the bad shit that happens, right? Is there
no, there's a hierarchy, sure, but I think we all have a say, for sure. Like we said earlier, we all have our strengths, so I'm not going to let them make a bad decision when it comes to music or programming, and Justin's not going to let them make a bad decision when it comes to food
and distilling.
Right. But
you got to have the right people that are capable of playing those roles, though, being humble when you need to, speaking up when something needs to go.
Communication.
Yeah, it's all about.
That's the unlock to life.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have a problem? Talk about it.
Yeah, you can't fix it.
Don't go lock yourself in your own room.
Talk about it.
Yep.
Be capable of having a disagreement and even being pissed off for a little while, walking away and coming back, be like, all right, let's do this. Yeah.
I mean, it's respect.
There you go.
I mean, at the end of the day,
just general respect for another human.
General respect at the end of the day. You know what I mean? If you treat people the way they want to be treated,
there you go.
It's life is a lot more simple. You know what I mean?
How do you think people want to be treated? I know you just said respect. How do they want to be treated? What do you think, Catfish?
I think
everyone's different.
Yeah.
There's not any like just shared thing that we could talk about. Like, how do people want to be treated?
I think the shared thing is fear. I think everyone's scared of something, and like you said, if you don't, that's the old Buddhist tenement. Like, you can't. Fear is always going to be there, so you have to acknowledge it. You don't have to give into it, but you have to say, "Look, I see you, and I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to get in this elevator."
That's it.
Because I know that it's just in my mind.
And if it gets stuck, I can hit the button.
Yeah. Or we'll deal with it when that happens. We create these problems I do it all the time. Create these problems a week out when what does that matter?
Yeah.
It might not even happen.
I mean, I've tried to instill that into my kids. I'm like, control what you can control and just let the rest of the shit not bother you, to be honest with you. I mean, because I see people get ate up by so much shit. And I just see them sit there and stew. And it's just like,
you know what we miss out on?
What?
Just life just being cool, man. When that happens, we just miss out on just the appreciation and the happiness in these everyday moments.
Yeah, that's what it's enjoying the day. Because we see all these things that aren't, like I said, real is what you feel. And when you see all these things and you're assuming that these people are having a good time or what, just loving life all the time,
they're not.
What does it matter? That's them.
Yeah.
Like you focus on what you want and go and get it.
Get busy.
Yeah,
get busy.
Go get it.
Tell us what's going to be special about the Whispering Beard this year. And when is it? Is it
September 13th and 14th?
What's going to be special about it?
It's kind of like our Hall of Fame edition. A lot of these are fan favorites. Few newcomers, pretty much the getting back to our roots of family friendly, like a family reunion, camping out, sharing food, sharing drinks, and enjoying it. I'll be doing my something new I started. It's called Saunter Song. So I do like a guided hike. And then at the end of the hike in the woods, I'll put together a couple artists, and I'll have a little sound system, and we do a couple, 2 or 3 songs a piece. But it's just it's just walking with people and a different way to see see music. The mission statement I put together is combining the healing power of music and nature, because I think we don't get out enough anymore.
How do we come and do this? I'm assuming it's not free.
Whispering Beard, you buy tickets to. I do several saunter songs now, so I got one this weekend at the Thomas More Field Biology Station. There's a Raisin Hellbenders festival that I'm helping with.
That doesn't sound like one with nature. Catfish.
Well, Hellbender. Do you know what a Hellbender is?
Isn't that a salamander or
It's
something?
a giant salamander.
Look at me,
that's
huh?
native
Yeah,
to
I'm
this
trying to
area.
level it up here,
Yeah.
guys.
So they have like 4 or 5 salamanders they raise for the Ohio River Foundation.
How big are these things?
They're like 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
Oh,
I would love
cool.
to find one in the wild, but they're still around. They're super endangered.
they're in the wild, like
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they used to be everywhere, but like us as humans, we fucked everything.
I would
up
think
and-
the aliens have landed.
They're pretty sweet. That's what I was geeking out. I mean, we're so tied into our phones and stuff and like man-made things, yet we have all these crazy freaking things all around us every day, whether it be thunderstorms or
The stars
Or-
in the
yeah,
universe,
or
Well, my daughter and I have been having like,
salamanders. How do these things exist together? How are we all on this same planet together and not find that absolutely
Fascinating.
fucking mind-boggling?
Yeah.
Like,
it's wild. What about you and your daughter?
well, it's like my daughter and I have been talking about just for the past couple of weeks about life elsewhere.
yeah, the cosmos, right?
You know what I mean, off of this earth, and she's like a firm believer, and she's like, it's crazy for people to believe that this is the only planet that there's actually life on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess it's not like life as we know it, like human beings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's like the oceans. We haven't even explored
We have a few more areas to explore there.
minute
Oh.
amounts. But you know what I mean? They found these vents at the bottom of the oceans and these like underground volcanoes to where there's water coming out of these vents that's like upwards of 2,000 degrees, and they found animals living in that water at that temperature. So I mean,
we just found deep
anything's possible.
oxygen
Heard that.
on the ocean floor that we don't know how it's.
They call it
being
black
created.
oxygen.
Black oxygen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I read that yesterday.
I didn't see that.
It's
It's a new one.
so this is special. So you go online, go to the website, Whispering Beard Folk Festival, you'll find it.
Yep, and it's it's just it's a throwback. It's a chill, old school fest. Not like something you'd go to where you see all the fences up and you got to have your wristbands to pay for everything now. Everything's
So if I wanted to sneak in through the backwoods, I could and not get caught.
You probably
you
could.
probably could, but people.
I mean, that's in the
people would-
origin of this thing.
But
Come
people
on,
would
guys.
know though, and then you'd be that person.
I'd be that guy.
And eventually we'd see
s-
you don't have a wristband on, and we're like, "Hey, dude, come on! Like this is
You'd let me
You're
stay.
paying
You'd let me
two-
stay. You'd teach me something.
well, we guilt trip you, yeah.
Yeah, we
Like
call you
what?
out over the PA.
Or
Like,
if you
we'd,
don't,
like, bring you
or
up
if
on
you don't
stage.
have money, come volunteer for a couple hours
See,
and help
there's-
us sort compost and trash.
There's the spirit.
You know,
So what about at the farm on any given weekend or something? How do you come? What's it like? What can people expect? Get some food, some music,
Yep.
get some beer, the whole experience.
Yep. We're open Thursday through Sunday. We open at noon, close at 9, 10 at night, depending on, and we close at 6 on Sundays. But Chloe's is always there. We got the food trailer open, or the pizza oven, so there's always food available. Full bar menu, beer, wine, liquor. We're currently making in-house our gin and our vodka, is what I'm currently distilling, and then branching out into a bunch of other stuff. But we've got 45 acres that you can come and consume alcohol on, hang out, eat. We've got
trails,
a big, and we've got a
kayak
big
launch.
grass field where kids can come down. I mean, it's amazing. Like we had, like 2 Sundays ago, there were probably, I want to say 25 or 30 kids with their families that came down after a baseball tournament. And the parents sat up, ordered pizzas, had some cocktails, hung out. The kids were down playing wiffle ball for like 2.5 hours. And, you know, I mean, everybody just had a blast. So, I mean, bring your kids out. I mean, we've got kickballs. We've got places for them to run around and be kids. And we've got places for adults to just hang out. And we've got all these fire pits So, you know what I mean? When it's cool outside and it gets nighttime, you can sit on the patio, listen to music, and sit
And
around
fall's
the fire.
coming. What a better time
Yeah.
for an environment like this, right?
And
That's the
nature,
best. Yeah.
like birds, so many birds. We don't spray anything at the farm, so insects. Over 225 species of bees in this area.
I mean,
But like when you're looking at the flowers on the farm, they're just covered with thousands of different bees and hundreds of different species. Like we just think of like 2 or 3 types of bees that we have. Well, no, we have, and most of them are solitary. So it's like the individual, it's one little bee. He gets himself a little lady friend. They make a little hole. They have a couple kids, and that's what they do.
It's like they grew up on the west side,
Yeah.
in a Catholic family.
what has happened here today? We have our in-house horticulturist. We have our in-house zoologist. We have our in-house, probably an anthropologist. I don't know. This is some good shit here. You can come and see a guy that has 18 degrees with the name Catfish Washboardio. I mean, this today, guys, this is epic, right? So it's probably up off 74. Is that the best way to get there?
I live in northern Kentucky, so I go 275 out past the airport, get off on the Lawrenceburg exit. Instead of making a left to go to the casinos,
right.
you make a right, and State Line Road is, we're literally 4 miles from the Lawrenceburg exit.
I live in northern Kentucky, and I like going slow, so I don't take the interstate. I cross the Clayway Bailey Bridge and then just make my way out Route 50 and then go the back way.
I thought
That's the beauty of we don't have start time, so you just kind of show up when you need to show
Catfish
up.
was going to be like, I live in northern Kentucky. I'm a basic guy. I just like, life just comes and goes. Nobody can be mean to each other. Maybe
we're mean to each other.
Maybe I'm on a bicycle sometimes. I capture my bee family on the way there so they can make their hole and have their little pit, right? You guys are awesome, though, for real. I think how many people will be at this thing this year? Will it be 500? Will it be 1,000? Will it be
probably around 1,500?
That's a good number, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. That's plenty of people.
Yeah.
So we'll have probably 300 people camping, 300 campsites.
Yeah.
300 plus campsites. So we've
Well,
got
not that many campsites, but that many
campers.
Campers.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna be you guys are. There's a lot of work that's gonna go into this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you get on Carriage House Farm's website or Lost Bridge website, Lost Bridge, we've got an events tab, and we update our music series every month. Because, like I said, we do live music Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then any special event like the Whispering Beard, the Big Pickle Show, our trebuchet and the pumpkin chucking and all that kind of stuff. All that's on calendars as well. So yeah, it's social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff as well. So we're easy enough to find. But we're not out there as much as a lot of people are out there. We do social media, but as minimal as
Richard does the social media.
Yeah.
Takes him all day Monday. It's painful to watch.
But it takes Richard all day to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Are you guys?
We love Richard.
Are you okay? You're allowed to be anti-social media, but are you okay not doing it if it doesn't spread the word and could impact more people than are impacted? Are you okay not doing social?
We do it because we have to, and it would be really nice to get an intern or something like that, a part-time employee to take care of that for us to where we can concentrate, because we're not good at it.
But you could be. Yesterday, got on the podcast. I don't do very many virtuals. Pizza joint in Manhattan. What's the name of it, Dave?
East Village Pizza.
East Village Pizza.
Yeah.
This guy immigrated from Turkey in 1997. Was fired because he was a pizza delivery guy, but he was fired. And then came back and bought the place he was fired from in 2003. Which is, you guys would love this dude, right? You're already loving this story. Okay. And he has 1.7 million followers on Instagram. One little pizza shop in Manhattan. Portnoy is going to review his pizza. He was voted the best pizza in from who knows what article or what. He's a special dude that's doing things the right way. If it weren't for him doing social media, his business wouldn't be what it is. And his passion that he shares for it about doing it the right way, you can see how he makes it on Instagram. But here's what he said. He wasn't either. So he took some editing classes.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to. He wasn't happy about doing it, but he took editing classes on how to do it.
I think that's our age and like.
No, he's in his 50s.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Some of us don't. We're just not gonna. We're gonna keep doing the way we've been doing, and we're not gonna.
Yeah.
Embrace the new technology, but
if you care about, my argument would be to you guys would be like, hey, listen, if this is really has a chance to impact people and help them live an easier life, or a life that feels a little bit more comfortable and more the way that you think people could be a little bit more happy, don't people need to hear about it?
Yeah.
That's all. That's the argument.
But I'd rather pay somebody to do it right.
Okay. I just don't know if the passion would come through. Like, his shit's basic, you guys.
Yeah.
But he does lives. He does Instagram lives. I don't know. It's just something when I see people doing it really well. It's East Village Pizza. Awesome dude, man. And he still works 10 and 12-hour days, 7 days a week. But the life that he's made for himself is incredible. And then now he's got 2 daughters that are going to Columbia. Like, just the life that's possible. Yeah. I think we should share it with people. I do believe if this is as special as you guys say it is, my challenge to you would be that you have an obligation to share it with more people.
Why don't you come out and visit and tell us what you think?
We'll do it. You know what we can even do? We can come out. I got a team of social media people. And this isn't for us. We'll come out and just record some things, do some stuff. We'll throw up what we'll show.
You don't have to do that. I just want you to come out and hang out.
Okay, we can.
Yeah, but you can do the social media part too.
Guys,
hey, what are you doing,
but
Justin?
this is what we do. Like what Jack and these guys do, cutting up Instagram reels, doing YouTube shorts. Like, we're not even experts at yet. I say, guys, we're still practicing, but we're starting to make impacts.
Oh yeah.
And so I know that it's been very valuable for what I'm trying to do, getting the word out. And I don't like it either, because it's outside of what I want to be doing, but it's an essential part of me sharing what we're doing.
And it's becoming a necessary part of doing business these days.
Guys, it just is.
It really is.
And if this is that special, and I love your guys' passion, like, I'm sitting here like, these guys are all in on this thing. You're all in on it. And you do love it. I think you wake up every day with a passion for it. Then share that. This is what the next generation, these would be a mentor even from a distance. You could do this.
I think that's the part where people do go viral. Like, I'm a baseball guy, and like what John Boy has done, like, that's just 2 baseball fans that have made it, or Barstool. I mean, they're just fans of that have made it
but
a $1 billion industry
while they're doing their thing, though.
Yes.
Like, I do
They've
think,
not changed who they are or anything.
You guys could actually become more passionate about this if you really see it making, other than just the kid hugging the neck of the horse, you could show 10,000 kids that, and then they're hugging the neck of the horse somewhere they live.
Yep. We should. I mean, we've done podcasts at the farm.
Yeah. But it's more about, you know what they say? It's more it's in the moment, right?
Yes.
You need to, I think you should capture instead of create. I think you should capture everything you're doing and then build social around it. I don't think you should try to create the moments.
See, my problem is I purposefully, I feel like I try to not do that. So I'll go on a hike and I don't take my phone.
Yeah, you need someone around you that can.
Yeah.
That's the piece. That's recording and documenting everything. So I think you should document what you guys are doing. If it's special, it'll come through that it is, and it'll impact people. I don't think you should inauthentically try to create things.
Right.
Document what you're doing. Guys, it can be really damn special. And you'll probably see, like, this is fun. Look at the people engaging and sharing this thing that we're doing and talking about this. You can impact way more people doing the same things than you just can in person. You guys can. I think this could be something that could have a big impact, the stuff you're doing. You really believe in it, share it.
I appreciate it.
But we'll come out. Yeah. And I think we should challenge each other to be better at what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You guys are too talented, too skilled. Where you're at this point in life, 40s
Yep.
and 50s, I think everything you've learned and the people that you've become and how your mind works and how you're seeing the world, I think you guys have another 15, 20 years ahead of you that you can do some really impactful things. Money aside, you need to share it with people. That's my argument.
That's our goal.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love that I got to meet you. This dude's a character.
Keep him around as long as I can. As long as he wants to be around, he's around.
But I think we should set something up to come out. I think people should come out and see the festival. I'm not a guy at all that would, without meeting you guys, I'd be like, oh, let's go to the folk festival. Like, I'm not that guy. However, it's intriguing. I'm like, wonder what that's like. Wonder what that could be. Who knows? Maybe I'm not going to have to do psilocybin and all that craziness that you guys are probably
You don't
doing.
have to.
Right.
You don't have to.
Family-friendly music festival.
Yeah.
But I think it could be cool. So maybe it's an opportunity for people to come out and experience it. But what I do know about folk music just feels good. It just feels
Well,
good.
and like Catfish said, this isn't a folk festival. It's just kind of gotten that name. I mean, we have
Kind of named it that. It's kind of self-policing in that way. A folk festival versus a music festival.
So,
Music festival seems more like a party.
yeah, folk festival is.
Just a name. Really, it's just a name. Just a catchy name. Like Newport Folk Festival is one of the oldest folk festivals. That's not a folk festival.
Yeah.
They're all electric. We're all electric. We have sound and all that stuff. So
Music and food and
yeah,
being nice and treating people well.
Yep.
Having a good time.
having fun.
Thank you guys. You're awesome.
Thank you.
We'll get out there and see you all. Not saying I'm going to bring the lady to the folk festival, but who knows, guys?
Don't bring someone you don't want to hang out with all day.
that's true.
We've been together for a long time, and so now that doesn't mean she wants to hang out with me all day.
That's true.
Because you're just going to sit around and listen to music, have something to drink, have some food, meet some people.
Go on hikes. Go on. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Any passing remarks to wrap this up? We'll hit all the social media stuff. We'll hit it up at the end.
Cool. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you guys, this is great. I love to get a couple local guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky's where it's at, man.
I agree.
It really is.
I mean, it is. It's some good shit. Hey, what'd you learn as we wrap this up for everybody doing podcast from seeing that one happening in your coffee shop in Ludlow? Was there any takeaways from podcast, doing it well, thoughts about just the avenue?
I feel like now more than ever, it's attainable to everyone. So just like anything, Springer, you can spend a lot of money on production and get a bunch of fancy equipment in and do all this stuff, but also one dude or lady can do it by themselves with a phone. Like you can do it with anything. Like it doesn't.
Are they valuable?
Oh, absolutely. I don't listen to podcasts, but I'll check out like snippets of things, which I think is more valuable now too, because of the time constraint. But yeah, absolutely.
And I'm the opposite. I listen to podcasts all the time.
I do too.
You know
I
what
have
I mean?
one running all the time.
Yeah,
in my
if I'm
ear.
doing something,
Yep.
and
I'll run it for 2 or 3 days, even if I'm caught up. Yeah.
It's about listening to people talk about what they're passionate about, which is super cool.
And about
especially
learning.
if you're not into it. Yeah, learning.
Yep. It's maybe the new way to read a book without reading a book.
I have friends that say they read books, but they just listen to them on tape.
So they don't read shit.
So
listen
they
to
don't
Audible and
read
all-
anything. Yeah.
Did you say on tape?
Oh yeah, I did say on tape.
You're awesome,
Yeah.
dude. You're
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Tape's making a comeback,
You're crazy.
It is.
Listen, up until now, this podcast was smart and like intellectual. You just said tapes. At 1985 came back. We're going
Vinyl
to listen
and
like
tapes.
Run DMC on tapes.
You go to some live shows, we're starting to bands are starting to produce stuff on tapes again because the kids are getting their parents' old
Walkmans.
Walkmans and
8-track players. 8-track
and ghetto
players.
the blasters, the big
Oh, yeah. Boom boxes
yeah,
walking
boom
down the street.
boxes.
Really?
Yep, and they're listening to tapes, cassettes.
You know what's awesome? In this office building, we're going to go one floor down. We have a brand new awesome psychiatrist that just moved in.
That's good. We all could use a mental health check.
All right, guys. Thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.